another just world famous, universe exploding, multiverse having, it's a crisis on infinite Rage Select podcast. Welcome to Earth 2. I am Jeff.
And I'm Good Joe from another reality.
Oh, are you the good version?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you're looking good. Have you been working out lately?
Yeah, I have. No, that's nice of you to say.
Know, I really appreciate everything that you do.
Hey, I like this, Joe. Cool. What's the downside?
Everything I say is a lie.
Oh, damn it. Damn it, you're from one of those one of us only tells the truth and one of us always lies dimensions.
Yes, it's reverse day world.
It's opposite universe.
That's right.
Earth opposite. Well, hey, welcome everybody to the Rage Select podcast. You know who we are. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Joe.
And yeah, we got a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it in. So we're gonna jump in. We got a couple of hot ticket items. I went to South by Southwest Gaming Expo last weekend.
So is this where the humble brag comes in?
No, not at all. It was terrible. Anyway, but we're gonna save that for later because Joe and I are in the unique position of having both seen Dawn of Justice like now, and I haven't really had a chance to talk about it in any real depth.
Do you bleed?
Okay, so
if you go to Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, your eyes and ears will bleed.
All right, so let's get a few things out of the way here real fast. Okay, I think one of my major. We're just gonna jump right in, and let's just say here, no spoilers.
No,
zero spoilers, because I don't even want to have our editors have to have seen the movie before they can edit this podcast. Okay. I have to ask somebody about this because I went to go see this in the theater that I was in. I was sitting right in between Chepo and Tony Guerrero.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of had fandom just on all sides of me.
I bet you could hear Tony's poor little fanboy heart breaking.
Well, I don't know. See, it was weird because when we got out of it, and actually like a few seats down from us was Angry Joe. And when we got out of the screening, he was just like, he was talking to people out there. And I kind of wanted to talk to him. But then on the other hand, I didn't want to bother him. But what I did find really interesting, though, is the screener that I got to go see was like before even the critic screener. And they had a little intro. I don't know if they had this at the critics one from Zack Snyder. Who was like,
fellas,
hey, bros, don't spoil it. You know, like don't go on Twitter right afterwards.
And honestly, it was really code for please don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Yes, please don't give people one more reason not to go see this. But anyway, so this may seem really tangential, Joe, but like, is it just me or was the entire soundtrack of that movie just so dramatic all the time?
Well,
like it's just like Bruce Wayne's making a cup of coffee and it's like you know,
it's because it had to match that Oscar-winning dialogue. Like, you know, Alfred, I really want to have 2 sugars in my coffee today. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
So, I mean, from just us talking outside, it sounds like you were not a big fan.
As far as train wrecks go, I'm definitely on board as being a fan.
Okay.
As far as a lover of movies that actually entertain, no.
Okay. So I think that this is a thing that I like. As I thought about the movie more and more, this is kind of what I came to was Batman vs Superman is like really dense and complicated. It's got a bunch of different subplots going on. It's got because it's got like a whole, like a half a Superman movie and a half a Batman movie, and there's some Wonder Woman in there and some other, and there's all this other stuff, right, that they didn't show in the trailers.
Yep.
I don't think Zack Snyder is equipped to direct a movie this complicated because it just was like the most ham-fisted. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe what I was thinking was like Zack Snyder. I feel like that dude gets a lot of shit, right? And I don't like his rendition of Superman. I didn't like his rendition of Watchmen, but those were more like script problems than really him. But I just don't feel like he's the sort of director who could probably direct a story like Mad Max Fury Road that was very basic, right? That was very
A to B.
explosions and cars, and we're driving here, and then we're going to drive back, right? Like this, there were too many things. Like it's almost like I would almost rather have seen somebody like Christopher Nolan direct this movie because he at least knows how to deal with a bunch of different plot points. Or conversely, they could have just cut half that shit out of the movie.
Oh, well, like all the backstory shit is like, hey, guy, everybody gets the general idea of Batman.
The first, like, what was it, like 10 minutes of the movie is Batman's origin story, and I was just like, you don't need, I know, everybody knows. He's like, you know what, I have a thing to tell Hollywood. Hey, Hollywood, if you're making a movie about Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man, you don't need to tell us how they got their powers. We know. Bit by radioactive spider, parents killed by a mugger, last son of Krypton. Boom. Everybody knows that shit. Like,
how about instead, like, Superman goes to his 20-year high school reunion?
Yeah.
You know, we haven't seen that shit.
Right. The Smallville reunion. They're playing like a bunch of Tears for Fears and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, like, there were parts of it that I liked. Like, I thought that Ben Affleck did good as Batman.
I think he didn't do awful.
Yeah.
I honestly think that actual Wonder Woman, fucking all right, badass.
I liked all the stuff with Wonder Woman. Liked all the stuff with Wonder Woman. Yeah, especially. I mean, like, I actually was excited in the dramatic finale when she, pops up.
Does Wonder Woman anything?
Which I guess that could kind of be a spoiler, but come on, man.
No,
like, it was if it's in the trailer, it's fair game. All right. But yeah, I mean, I was actually, in fact, I was a little bit perturbed that, in speaking of the most vague generalities, right? So people have seen it know. Like at the end, when there's this big fight going on and Wonder Woman shows up and she's doing her thing, right? We've seen the entire movie with Batman and Superman. Wonder Woman's finally there. She's doing her thing. And they keep cutting away to another character where I'm just like, just really? Again, really? More of this shit? You could have just been like, yeah, I know what's going to happen here. You didn't need a full 10 minutes. Or also, the movie's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It probably could have benefited highly from just being 2 hours long. It's just chopping huge chunks of wistful looks into the distance out of the movie.
Yeah, it was the going to grandma's bag of movie.
Yeah. Also, I feel like I don't think this is any big. I don't know if it's any big thing, but obviously this is leading towards an extended DC universe, right? I think that's very clear with Suicide Squad and Batman being introduced back into Superman that we're going towards an extended universe. But I feel like in the Marvel side of things, in the first wave Marvel stuff, like it worked because you had several movies that were all building towards this climax, whereas here it just feels like. Maybe you, Joe, you might be the one to make the appropriate sex metaphor. It's like Zack Snyder is just like really hurrying it up, like just fucking. We gotta get there, man. Like I gotta get there now.
Well, he's trying to double fist an asshole, is what he's doing.
Right? Like there's no foreplay here. He's just shoving it in. Oh no, this is a bad metaphor. I'm gonna.
Ram it down.
Yeah, just. And consequently, I don't feel like we have any time to get excited because the whole movie is so just dialed up to 11 the entire fucking time that we don't have any time to really. Oh, I don't know. Maybe not. There's also reference to a bunch of things in there that I mean, I guess I can see where they're going with the next movie, and yeah, but maybe
they're gonna be lucky if they get the next movie.
You think so?
I think the majority of the money is going to come from opening weekend for people who are like, it can't be that bad.
Right.
Like, I don't think there's going to be rewatches like Force Awakens.
I just don't know. I just don't know why they didn't do. They had Man of Steel, right? Why not just make a Batman movie? Batman movies always do well.
Yeah.
Even the fucking Schumacher ones did really well in spite of, make your Ben Affleck Batman movie where you can show Ben Affleck being Batman for a while, right? You get all of your Gotham City stuff done. You can have nods to the fact that Superman's in the universe, and then make a fucking Wonder Woman movie where you have.
Well, I mean, they're doing that.
Well, yeah, but make it first, and then this could be the like Avengers 0.5 movie of the DC universe where you're bringing these three characters together, and we already have time because we have plenty of time with Superman and Man of Steel. But we haven't had any time with Batman. We're just getting this like tangential weird Batman.
Poor Ben Affleck, like he's as cut as I've ever seen him in a movie, and when he puts on that bat suit, he still looks like a fat turd.
You think so?
Yeah,
I didn't really catch it. I mean, I do know that he like that first promotional still that they released of him with the sad Batman. Really kind of just set the tone for everything.
And his outfit looks like it's a dyed potato sack.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, is it just me, or was there did you feel like there wasn't enough superheroes doing superhero thing. It's like it was like the Godzilla remake, right? Where it's like they backloaded the movie with all of the superhero antics, and so the first big chunk of the movie, there's not a lot of superheroism happening.
Other than Superman landing really fucking hard.
Well,
apparently
yes,
he does not have a soft touch.
That's right. Or taking off as fast as he can. Don't like speed up or anything, Superman. It's good. Make a sonic boom and break all the windows whenever you take off.
Yeah, you shattered my pancreas. Thanks.
But generally speaking, this is what I can say. I'm not a professional film critic, so I can't really speak to the ins and outs or why or whatever. And I've never made a movie, so I don't know. All I know is that, like, when I got done watching, but I already used Mad Max. So let's say when I got done watching Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Okay.
I instantly wanted to see that movie again. I don't really have. I mean, like, I would kind of like to maybe go in and freeze frame on a few things and just check a few things out in that movie, but I don't really have a whole, like, I didn't come out just like, yeah, fuck yeah, go. Like, I didn't have a real super emotional reaction to the things that were happening in Dawn of Justice.
Well, and I'm not a professional video game journalist like yourself.
Wait, are you on the internet?
Oh, yeah.
Are you on a podcast?
Yeah.
Is it on a video game website?
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're a professional video game journalist.
Okay, so then I can say this. Even though they don't really do the tie-in video games anymore with a movie, I kind of wanted there to be a video game version of this movie because maybe it could, one, take its time, and two, have to graphically look better than this fucking movie.
You thought it looked really terrible?
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these things start to ooze together and look the same to me. It was just, it's a bunch of CGI and people flying around and doing stuff.
The parts like the climactic parts near the end.
Oh, okay.
Like where it was just shit tons of CG. It was like, oh, this is super awful.
Yeah.
That's his superpower.
Yeah. I mean, I can say that I didn't totally dislike Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Oh, I super hated that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I kind of had to, like, I guess the problem that I have is that I love the DC universe so much that maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the reason this movie and like Man of Steel and that stuff doesn't grab me, is because I love the DC universe. Like, I just started watching Justice League Unlimited on Netflix again. The show is fucking awesome. Like, it's phenomenal. Their take on it is so kind of antithetical to what I get out of the DC universe that it just doesn't do anything for me. Like, I like my Superman as a symbol of hope and justice and that kind of stuff, right? Not as this really dark, grim, broody kind of guy like he is there. I mean,
shouldn't he have super optimism?
Yeah,
like,
I would think so. I thought that was the whole reason. Well, no, because fucking asshole Man of Steel Pa Kent gave him super cynicism instead. It's like, don't rescue anybody, Clark. Just let him die. Let me die. Let everybody die. Fuck them.
I don't know, just like nuke the Earth.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because I feel like, again, I say this a lot of the times when I'm just trying to give something the benefit of the doubt. There were the bones of a good, complex storyline of the. It's one of the things that frustrates the shit out of me because the Batman Superman dichotomy in the comics, in the DC universe, is like this very classic, you got the cynical Batman and this kind of hope and justice Superman, and he's really strong, and Batman's all about wits and cleverness and fear, and Superman's all about optimism and stuff like that. And when you make everything in the universe dark, it's like none of that comes. It just seems like
it seems like he should have adjusted the gamma.
Well, I guess that's the thing, is that when your Superman is already very dark and cynical, and then you have a dark and a cynical Batman, and they come together at ideological odds, and you're just like, wow, it's somewhat cynical versus super cynical, and only the best cynical may cynical. Like, I don't know. Nothing. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just Danny Glover and I'm over here. I'm just getting too old for this shit, man.
Can I make a request to the Ragers?
Sure.
I did the same one to the One of Ussies.
Okay.
Just pressure Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Don't fucking touch Swamp Thing. just don't.
Oh, that's so far down on the list. It'd be like, oh man, whatever you do, don't do Animal Man, Zack Snyder.
Hey, you know what? Have a crack at Shazam.
Right? Oh, dude, that's the last thing I want to see. Is fucking like what they would make Billy Batson into like an emo 14-year-old. Like, come on! There's already enough dark and cynical things in the movies. Like, I don't need anyway. So I guess that at the end of the day, like, I think it's maybe worth watching as a dumb movie, but I mean, I don't even know if it's that, because like if I want to watch a dumb movie, I can watch Pacific Rim, and that's dumb, but it was more entertaining.
But awesome.
Yeah, and it was, and you know why is maybe because Pacific Rim, at its heart, it had a main character. It had one main goddamn character, Whitey McBlanderson, and like my brother got killed.
A hot Asian chick,
or her, either one. I mean,
or Idris Elba.
Nah, well, he's more sub. He's more of a side character.
Sub dom. No, I guess.
Yeah, he got the safe word. No, but that movie is like, it's like, I know that when it came out, a lot of my critic friends were just like, oh, it doesn't have any subtlety and it's too dumb, and it's like, yeah, but it's a big dumb action brawl, right?
It's about gigantic robots fighting super monsters.
That's what I've always said. Whereas this, like, it seemed like it was trying to be deep, and yet, or maybe,
well, no, it was trying to be a statement.
Was it? What was the statement?
Like, you know, like good guys can like turn bad for good reason.
Was that the statement?
It's as close as one as he's got.
Because I got news for you. Like, the Dark Knight was a very interesting exploration of heroes and how far do you go and that kind of thing, right? Like, it touched on a lot of that stuff without having to be so fucking ham-fisted about, you know, what's, I don't know.
Well, the rumors are that Hoofleck partially signed so that he would have the right to direct the
next
Batmans.
One. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I liked him, and I liked his performance, and I liked the way that everything was there. He did seem a little unconcerned with, there were a few parts where it was like what was the second Tim Burton movie, Batman
Forever Begin?
No. Returns?
Yeah,
Returns?
Sure.
Where it was like, oh, that guy's dead. He's just dead. Like, yeah, you threw him into a fire, Batman. I think he's dead. But I don't know. There was a part of me that enjoyed it while I was watching it. I actually almost feel like you could almost recommend it. Like, if you just don't give a fuck and you just want to see Batman and Superman flying around doing Superman and Batman shit, yeah, why not, man? Go see it on a big, huge screen. I got to see it on an IMAX screen with the big booming DTS and all that shit.
Oh, yeah, no, I recommend if you do watch it big. Don't go small.
Yeah. So there's that. I think this has been all over the map. I mean, and I feel like I did a lot of bitching and complaining, but while I was watching it, I mean, I got to see it for free, and it was fairly exciting. It's just when I got done with it, the more I thought about it, it's like Taco Bell, right? The more you think about it, or the longer it's been since you've had it, the more you're like, oh, that was a bad idea. I don't know why I keep doing this. But yeah, so I don't know. Take what you will. I'm sure there are going to be people that are going to be defending the hell out of it. I mean, I think that Tony really liked it. Then he's just unabashedly likes any of that DC stuff. So, all right. Well, before we move on to the news, briefly, I did get to go to South by Interactive.
Oh, yeah,
it's mostly indie games.
And you got to play Pikmin?
No.
Oh,
no.
Shit. You didn't go to the Pikmin booth.
There wasn't any Pikmin there.
Well, not for you, apparently.
I got a ramen burger. I had a ramen burger.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It was a little weird. No, I mean, the main thing that I got to do was I got to, I went and looked at a lot of the stuff that was there. A lot of it is stuff that we've already played. Some of it's stuff that I've already seen a lot of coverage of. And then a lot of the indie stuff just kind of starts to ooze together when there's that much of it all together.
Was Yandere Simulator there?
No. What I did get to do, though, was put on the HTC Vive and the consumer release Oculus CV, I think it's called CV1 or whatever.
And you tried the porn VR?
No. Well, actually, one of them was this company that was selling an exercise bike with like controllers in the handle, and all of their games were like you have to lean on the bike and you have to pedal. Like one of them was like you're trying to rope dudes in the Old West, right? And you have to keep pedaling to make your horse go faster. Yeah. What I can say is that but as far as the devices themselves go, I can say that the HTC Vive was really incredible. Okay. For $800, you goddamn well should be. But like I didn't, it was a very clear picture. They were doing a thing that kind of pisses me off where they weren't wiping down the inside cups, and in a thing where you're exerting yourself, there'll be some like kind of liquid inside of there. But the picture was really good. The head tracking worked really well. It seems like if you've got the money for it, that one really does handle very well. The consumer release Oculus Rift, though, the big thing that I noticed about that was that when I had it on my head, it was the lightest VR headset that I've ever seen.
Is that good or bad?
It's great because it means that it's just like there's less of a physical interaction with your body, like something is hanging off the front of your face, right? So I played this game called Pollen that they're putting out for all three of them. Unfortunately, the devs that were there, I don't think the build they had was very well optimized because there was hella judder. And it was just like one of these walking simulators where you come to a Jupiter space station, everybody's gone, and you walk around and like pick stuff up and look at it and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. The one thing I did notice, though, is that the consumer Rift, I believe, I could still in my peripheral vision kind of see the edges of the headset, right? Whereas on the Vive, I feel like the lenses were so big that my peripheral vision was completely filled. It was much more of an immersive experience. So now it could just be that I wasn't looking, and also that I didn't have much sleep before I went to the stupid thing. Other than that, I think I played. I didn't really play all that much because it was like. You remember when we played Hard West?
Yeah.
Like there's a booth set up that had the expansion to Hard West, and I'm just like, well, I'm not going to play that. I've already played Hard West.
I'm aware of this already.
Or that same booth had this game called Hard Reset that they're putting out an HD version of on consoles, and I'm just like, well, I've played Hard Reset. I don't need to fucking do that. So yeah, all in all, we just wandered around for a little bit. Game Church was there with Gaming Jesus.
Okay.
Tons of T-shirts. They had one that it was a T-shirt that just said Filthy Casual on it. Looked really awesome. $30. I'm about to spend $30 on that. So yeah, all in all, there you go with meh.
And you didn't even get free shirts?
I did. I actually no. Wait, hold on. The best thing that I played there was a new Insomniac game called like Into the Deep or something like that, where you're driving around a little. It's like a kind of a Metroidvania, but you're driving a little like submarine around in the depths, and you're shining lights at jellyfish and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did get a free T-shirt from that. So,
nice.
Yep, that's the one thing that I can say was thumbs up. Speaking of thumbs up, why don't we go ahead and jump into the news?
All right, let's do it.
All right. We got some really good stories here at the onset, but my favorite is one that happened. The story broke kind of like right after we recorded the podcast last week. And it takes a little bit of splaining, Joe.
Well, then please do.
Okay. Joe, do you know who Jim Sterling is?
What's that?
He's a YouTube internet guy.
I bet
you might have seen him before.
Okay.
He wears like he's a bigger guy. Wears like red glasses and a big black suit and a black hat. And he stands in front of this podium. He has a show called The Jimquisition where he talks about stuff. Okay. So I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this. He does a thing on his channel called Squirty Plays, where he basically it's just like 10 to 20 minute video first impression videos, right? And a lot of the stuff that he does on there are like Steam Greenlight, early access, like indie dev things. So he played this one from this company called Digital Homicide called Killing Grounds, where he just made fun of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much you know this, but every so often, and we had a story a few weeks ago about this happening with the guy that made this game called Bear Simulator and PewDiePie. Indie devs, because it's just like one person and there's nobody there to be like, this is a bad idea, Gary. This is a bad idea. Will then sometimes, if like a YouTuber or an online critic or something is savages one of their games, they will then go at them and go back and forth. And in this case, this happened years ago. This company they ripped his video from YouTube and then did a thing called Reviewing the Reviewer, where basically they had him play the video and then they popped this text up over it that was just like, Jim doesn't even know how to do this and blah, 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 criticizing him. And then he ripped that video down and basically did a reaction video over it, etc. Since then, Jim Sterling and Digital Homicide have had a very rocky relationship.
Oh.
Every time they put out a game, he plays it, and they generally tend to be pretty bad.
Okay.
They tend to be what he would call it's kind of hard to get into this, but there's a thing called asset flipping. I don't know if you know what this is. I didn't even know about it until last week.
No, you have to tell me now.
Okay. So you know Unity, right?
Yeah.
The programming language. So asset flipping is generally considered like if you just take Unity, you go and you buy just a bunch of assets and then shove them together in one of like the pre-made like FPS modules in Unity, and then you put that game on the Steam store for like $10.
So in other words, lazy games.
Right. In any case, there's even like a 2-hour podcast where like these two brothers that run Digital Homicide and Jim Sterling did this podcast and it was one of the most cringe-inducing things to listen to ever, because the guy at Digital Homicide is like, I don't understand why what you do and what I do are different. Like, you take people's assets, and then you add commentary, and then you put it out on the internet. And I just take other people's assets and add my code on top of it, and then I put it out on the internet. And it was just like, yeah, but it's not the same. And Jim Sterling's videos are actually kind of interesting, and your games are shit. In any case, all of this is culminated this week into these stupid sons of bitches bringing a lawsuit against Jim Sterling for $10 million for defamation of character and libel. And like, apparently like the developer got like a bag of human feces sent to his house. And the developers are basically saying that like Jim Sterling has hounded them to the point where they can't make a game without his fans coming in and crapping on it, and him crapping on it, and him defaming them to the point where they're not. Now, obviously, the guy who runs this thing doesn't understand what fair use means.
No.
Like, he thinks it's actually like, well, that's not fair, so that's not fair use. Right. But I find this to be absolutely incredible and one of those, like, super fun things. Like, I cannot, this is probably just going to be dropped and settled out of court at a certain point, but I think.
Or just dropped.
Or just completely dropped, yeah. But I think this stuff is awesome.
Well, actually, this parallels Donald Trump, who's trying to get libel and slander laws changed so that he can start suing like newspapers and shit.
Oh, for criticizing him?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, so when we talked about this in response to PewDiePie, because there was a single dev made this game called Bear Simulator. PewDiePie put up a video. He really didn't like it, and then the dev just basically closed up and shut down and said, I don't want to do this if this is what I'm going to have to put up with, right? So there's a weird argument to be had here about, like, if you're a YouTuber that has a rabid fan base, and I don't know anything about that, I've got a very sane, calm fan base, and you decide that you don't like a thing, and then your followers basically just go with whatever you say, then if you have several million viewers who decide to go to Steam and start writing bad reviews of games, it can turn overwhelmingly negative in a minute and hurt sales of your game.
Well, once again, it's not unlike the modern stand-up comic world, because people can just use their camera phones to record a shitty set from an up-and-coming stand-up artist. It's really fucking hard for them to develop, because you do have to go through growing pains, and you do have to get the shit out of the way. You're not going to do a home run straight out of the box. So, there's that side of it, but that's not a legal standpoint. That's just a shitty human being standpoint.
Right. No, let me make it very clear. I in no way think that the lawsuit is that. I hope it goes to court and Jim Sterling gets to countersue them and take away all their money. Because they even did some. I mean, I was looking. I got just way deep down the rabbit hole of this. Like, after they learned that Sterling wasn't going to stop, they started making games under other company names, and then they eventually got outed that these are all the same place. In fact, to the point where they actually took a name, it was like ECC or EEC or something like that it actually is the name of like a Polish developer who then is taking them to court to try to make them change their name. It's so complicated, but I think that it is interesting because it does bring up some questions about like what responsibility does a let's just use the word journalist, right? You're now a game journalist. You could talk about this, right? Have towards like. Or do they have any towards, if you know that you have a fan base that you can sway, right? And that's not to say, I'm not like criticizing Jim Sterling's fan base or saying that his fans are weak-willed or anything. But what I can say is that there have been plenty of times over the course of my life where will glom onto a personality, right? And if they think highly of a thing, then I probably think better of it, right? Maybe not entirely, maybe not 100% of the time, but that person can definitely push the needle a little bit in one direction or the other. So in that case, like, do they have any responsibility to be responsible about not pushing the needle like overtly in a different direction?
Well, I would say without a direct call to action, that's real gray.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, hey guys, let's all shit on that dude's dog.
Right.
Like, that's awful.
Right. Yeah. No dog shitting. It's a weird thing to think about. And I don't have a solution. Like, I can't come down and say this is what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And Rage Select is so small that doesn't really make much of a difference. But it's weird. It's a strange thing to think about because you have to say, let's say that you wake up one day as a prominent YouTube personality and you're just in a bad place in your life and you're having a shitty day and you play something that maybe has some good aspects, but you decide to ignore them and you just decide it would be funnier to make a game or to make a video where I'm just crapping all over this. Like it would be funnier to push more in the negative direction than it would be to go through all the work of being like, well, this part was pretty good and this wasn't that bad. You just want to say Batman versus Superman is the worst movie that has ever come out.
Oh no, I thought.
And if you like
it,
you're a moron, and I hate you. And shut up. Like, do you what sort of responsibility does that person have, or do they have no responsibility? And fuck it, it's just
honestly, I don't think you have a responsibility other than to how you view yourself,
right?
So if you want to be a huge shithead, that's really your prerogative.
I mean, I guess, and then when you say that, it just starts to come down to like, there are plenty of people on the internet who have basically made their mark by being a certain type of shithead.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's a hard question to answer. In the other case, this guy's lawsuit is horseshit. But I'll tell you what, because there's a cherry on top of the shit sundae here, and that is that this stupid son of a bitch wrote his own legal things that's full of like grammatical
his brief,
that before he submitted it. Not only that, but this sack of stupid fucking... He has a GoFundMe page for his online lawsuit with a trying to get $75,000 crowdfunding, $75,000
file
to sue Jim Sterling and take him to court and stuff. It was taken down. Now it's back up. It's got $200.
Best of luck.
Yeah. It's amazing. I haven't even scrolled down to see like just what the about what the comments are. Anyway, it is worth saying though that no matter what side of the fence you land upon, I don't think it's ever a good idea from the dev side to ever do anything like this. You never want to go after a critic.
Like the best thing you can do is make an actually good game.
Sure. And it was horrifying listening to that dumb podcast that they did together where it was like, he's like, well, how are we supposed to get any better if every time we release a game it just totally tanks? How are we supposed to get any better? And it's
I am pointing out parts of the things that are wrong.
You have to be better. You have to actually get better. Yeah, it's so like if people want a weird laugh, you go. Most people probably already listen to this, but if you want a hardcore laugh, go listen to the thing where him and the guy talk together because. The developer at one point is like, well, you could just, email me with what the problems are and then I could fix them or whatever. And Sterling's like, I'm not your QA department guy. Like, it's not. And he's like, well, don't you want the game to get better? And Jim Sterling has to kind of be like, that's not my job to make your game better. I'm here to look at it and point out what I think is good and bad. Anyway, enough of that. That's just little funsies to get started. So let's get to the actual news. Our first story this week is, so a few weeks ago, we had a story about Microsoft talking about putting out a version of the Xbox One that had better hardware on the inside and maybe even modular upgrades. Yeah. And everybody's kind of like, what the hell is that going to be? And they still haven't been real clear about it. Apparently, there's also a rumor rolling around that Sony's thinking about doing the same thing with the PlayStation 4.5 that apparently is going to have some 4K support for it and might be better for the upcoming PlayStation VR headset. I'm going to go ahead right now and double down like I did with Microsoft and just say I think this is a terrible idea to have, especially if you have, like, if I have a PlayStation 4 that runs, let's pick one, right? Uncharted 4. And it looks... you were going
to say Pikmin.
A PlayStation, not Nintendo. The PlayStation 4 has, and it runs Uncharted 4 worse than the PlayStation 4.5.
4S.
Or whatever.
They gotta go Apple with it.
Okay, 4DS. That, to me, is bad. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's a bad idea to split your consumer base and start to try to train console people to have to buy a new console every 2 years?
Well, it sounds like you're one of those crying poor people. Yeah. Where those of us who have the PlayStation 4S just look down upon you and laugh.
I don't know. I feel like it's really punishing your early adopters, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I feel like those are the people that you would want to keep the most happy and to come out and say, like, if they come out at Christmas and say, here's the next PlayStation 4. And I want to make crystal clear here that, like, I'm not talking about stuff like the Slim or like the Xbox Elite, or like I'm talking about more like what Nintendo did with the 3DS and the new 3DS, where there's actually like the new 3DS has more hardware, more control inputs, and like Hyrule Warriors on the 3DS. If you're playing it on an original 3DS, won't run in 3D because it just doesn't have the processing power for it. But it will run in 3D on the other one. I hate the idea of forcing console people to do upgrades because that's the whole reason I play on a console. Is I just buy one console and then you get to play, right? As opposed to having to. I mean, if I wanted to shove hardware upgrades and shit, I would buy a new video card for my goddamn PC and not. So I don't know. Were you on when we were talking about this before?
No. But
what do you think about?
I'm very aware of it.
What do you think about it?
I'm not aware of the whole Sony thing, but it does kind of takes the populism out of gaming.
Yeah,
console gaming at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't really seemed to be much of a problem for Nintendo, but then like the 3DS is like when I bought my new 3DS, it was like a couple $100,
a lower cost of entry.
Yeah, like if there's another $400 console that comes out, I don't know. I'm really split about it because I guess at the end of the day, like if the PlayStation 4.5 can run the PSVR stuff way better, well, I like VR and I like my stuff to run better, but I'm just not really interested in having to scrape up another $400 for another console. So I don't know. I'd be interested to know what people with the Sony side. I mean, I think we already got impressions from the Microsoft side, but I'm kind of interested to see what the Sony folks think of this because I don't know. I'm real torn about it. Just doesn't seem like a great idea to me. But speaking of Nintendo and their splits, some images popped up online this week
of the Nintendo Switchblade.
This is okay. So these are just some pictures that showed up on Reddit, right?
Okay.
Of a person who says that this is a dev kit for the new Nintendo NX console. This is the controller for the new Nintendo NX console.
Okay.
Now the interesting thing about this is that it's possible this could be totally and completely fake, right?
Yes.
But there was a patent that came out a while back from Nintendo that actually looks an awful lot like what we're looking at right here. So this is the patent that Nintendo submitted for this NX controller, and these are the pictures that we're seeing online of this thing that looks very, very similar to what to the patent.
Yeah, but that confirms nothing because somebody could have mocked it up based on that patent.
Very much, almost entirely true, yes. But if this is to be believed, there are some details in here that have been provided. Apparently, the control sticks work a lot like the control sticks on a 3DS, and at the top of them move like a puck, which I think I fucking hate that shit on the 3DS. Apparently, there's some rolling stuff up on the top, and then the touchpad in the middle has some kind of haptic feedback, I think, where they might be putting stuff. So for those of you who haven't seen this is a little oval with basically two sticks, some shoulder buttons, and a few things in the front. It doesn't have any face buttons like your normal controllers do.
Right.
No D-pad, no buttons. I think it's interesting. I still, though, think that... I mean, I'm very torn about this. Nintendo's been doing all right just basically making Nintendo consoles that are for Nintendo games, right?
Yeah.
I think, though, for my money, love competition. And I would love nothing more for the Nintendo NX to come out and have enough hardware and control input parity on it to basically put, the new Call of Duty on or any game that comes out, right? So when a game comes out, if a big EA game comes out, and it could be on all the consoles. Now, I guess the thing to remember about this particular controller is that this could just be an iteration of like the Wii U pad.
Yeah.
Which the Wii U already has a classic controller that does have the same control interfaces as PlayStation or the Xbox. I don't know. What do you think about this thing? It's a little smaller than the Wii U controller. It's kind of weird looking though, right?
It looks very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But as far as Nintendo stepping up their hardware, I disagree. I think that they found their formula. They figured out their nut. And their nut is lower cost of entry.
See, I think that when you look at the sales figures for the Wii U compared to, especially to the Wii, that they are probably going to, I hope they're making some kind of dramatic change in their console because the Wii U has done okay, but you're not exactly attracting. There's this whole timeline, right? Of they released the Wii. It's a new kind of console. It is more. It more attracts the filthy casuals. You know, your grandma can play it, your parents can play it, you can do whatever. You don't have to figure out all these controllers. So then they spend a few years with the Wii, and then they switch over to the Wii U, which has more graphical fidelity and processing power and things like that. And then nobody, or a lot of the customers, are not bothering to get it over the Wii, and the hardcores have already gone over to, you know, PlayStation and Sony. So I don't know. I mean, Nintendo's got a huge war chest, and they can kind of do what they want to. But I think it would be nice if they at least did some kind of competition in the realm of, you know, kind of standard video games.
Because you don't want Gam Gam to play Nintendo games.
Well, no, I want Gam Gam to play Nintendo games. I don't have any Gam Gams though, so I can't.
Okay,
like,
so
maybe that's it. I've got no.
It's an empty promise right there.
It's like that. It's like that the Batman and Robin picture where it's like, maybe your grandma can play. My grandma is dead. I don't know. I mean, this thing looks all right, and I do like the fact that it's a lot smaller than the Wii U controller was, because that thing is just a goddamn monster, and it'd be nice to have something that was smaller, a little bit more streamlined. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, and I have a feeling that we're going to see it really soon, because another little piece of Nintendo news that came out this week, Joe, is that apparently Nintendo is going to stop producing Wii U's by the end of 2016.
Well, good.
Yeah. Which to me seems to indicate that at E3 this year we're going to have some kind of, the NX is going to be unveiled at E3 with whatever the new name is for it.
Well, I mean, the Leapfrog controller is fucking stupid.
The big pad?
Yeah.
They never really did they never really did as much with it as they seem to indicate, like at the very beginning of the life cycle. Like, you know, it seemed to just be a place to put your map. Yeah,
it was kind of like the empty slots of the PS2, where you were sure they were going to develop something for those things.
Well, they did. The hard drive network controller. That was the only thing that came out. But yeah, I mean, I hope that this prediction gives, you know, that we are going to see something at E3 from Nintendo, because I feel like the Wii U, I don't have anything horribly against the Wii U, but it's like, it's such a specialty machine that every time I get it out, I get it out for one particular game, I play that game, and then I put it up.
Yeah, your Smash Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. All right, one more little piece of Nintendo news before we're out of here. Not entirely sure why this has happened, but apparently there's a popular Twitch streamer who got all of his Super Mario Maker levels deleted.
Oh, what happened?
With no explanation. Like, he called Nintendo and they said, the representative was like, normally if it's a cheating thing, they'll do this, but I don't see any flags here that show that you were cheating. Nope, they're all deleted, and don't know why.
Could have just been a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, though, this particular Twitch streamer makes all of his money off of Twitch streaming Super Mario Maker, so yeah. All right, well, let's move on from Nintendo to some Xbox news. Apparently, there's a new Xbox One update, where you can now purchase backwards compatible Xbox 360 games directly off of the Xbox One.
Okay.
Again, like the Wii U, I haven't plugged my Xbox One in a while, so
yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is a new development. There's also a few new things. You can stream your party chat on Twitch. Party size has been upgraded. Some Elite controller razzmatazz. But it seems like the big thing is being able to buy those backwards compatible games and direct them.
Will it play the physical versions?
I think okay. The chat or the chat, the comments will certainly correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really know because I haven't done it yet. But as I understand it, I'm pretty sure that what happens is you put your disc in, it verifies, and then downloads the version that runs on the Xbox
that's cool.
One.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah.
In fact, this week I believe they put they put Dark Souls and one other game on the backwards compatibility list. I just I keep asking this over and over again. I just wonder if this is enough. Joe, you don't have an 8th gen console, right?
No. No.
Do you have a leaning one way or the other towards the Xbox One or the PS4?
Oh, definitely the PS4.
Why?
Games.
Okay. Just the games that are on the PS4? Like there's particular titles that you're looking forward to, or
it just seems like I've got a lot more options with like picking up used games. And as far as new games, that seems pretty fine. I like the interface a lot better of when you're actually in there using the damn things.
Okay.
I like the PlayStation Network going down a lot. That's pretty fun.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It keeps you honest, makes you go outside.
Yeah. It is time for bed. You're right.
So, I mean, so you would say that the backwards. Do you think that the backwards compatibility of the Xbox One is attractive to you as a feature? Would it make you consider the Xbox One more than a PS4?
No, because I still have a 360.
Okay, it's kind of the same boat that I'm in, right? And a lot of the best games on the 360, I can also get on the PC on Steam. So it's kind of like, I don't know that I really need that. I mean, it's great. It's great for people who just want to buy one console and then still have access to
Yeah, like my roommate. She's like, hey, what should I get? I'm gonna get one of these gens.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, you don't have any background in it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. More further Xbox One news. This is actually going to be. There's a sale that just started on the Xbox One for $300. And it will be going on until the day after this podcast is released. We're recording this on like Thursday.
Yeah.
But it's going to be going through Monday, I believe. So if you're looking for an Xbox One, I think you got to buy it through the Microsoft website or something like that. But yeah, it's out there. All right, so let's jump into some other stuff. At South by Southwest this year, one of the things that they did do was talk a little bit more about the new Telltale Batman game. In fact, I actually stood in front of the live Twitch panel and just watched them talk about it, and then my brain started getting really tired and bored, and so I left. But apparently, it sounds like they're going to have a lot of Bruce Wayne in here as well as Batman. Telltale has never been super great at like the action portions.
Yeah, so I was wondering, is it just going to be more sleuthy?
I think that what it's probably going to end up being, I mean, like they talked a lot about how they have like a 400-page script, and they went on and on about that. And then like they just started, when I was watching this panel, they just started going into buzzword to the point where I was just like, yawn, like I don't care about any of this. But if I had to make an educated guess, and we all know how good my educated guesses
Dating
are.
simulator.
You're going to have actions at night as Batman that will then affect your interactions during the day as Bruce Wayne. Like they seem to be saying that there's going to be quite a bit of Bruce Wayne in this Batman game.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as like there's going to be some Batman, but that it's going to be a lot more Bruce Wayne, which I guess from a Telltale perspective makes a certain amount of sense.
Makes a lot more sense. I would rather see it be like Bruce Wayne, high society Swain.
Yeah.
It's just him betting women. Or dudes, depending on how you play it.
It would be kind of interesting if there was some kind of subtle meter in the game where it's like, it would be really great. Fuck, I just thought of it. Like if they brought in another developer and they had like an Arkham Asylum style game when you're Batman, and then during the day you have to do this Telltale Bruce Wayne interaction where you have to make everybody like where they're like, well, where were you last night, Bruce? And if you don't lie well enough, then people start suspecting that you're Batman. Like you have two games. You have the Telltale game during the day where people suspect you're Batman, and then at night you have to actually go out and be the Batman. So. They didn't show anything else though. Here.
Like, did you see anything of it?
Nope. It's just there's a trailer. It's the same trailer they had before, where it's like a bunch of comic book panels that are inked in, and then kind of like a voiceover about like, the Batman was seen today.
Oh wow,
roof or whatever.
Exciting.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up we have a bunch of trailers. In fact, we have some really good stuff this week. First up, we got our first short for Overwatch. Now, do you know what Overwatch is?
You mean like an action?
No, not like an XCOM. It's a Blizzard game.
Okay.
They had a really good trailer early on that was like a fucking Pixar movie. Like it was so good. And then they made this new trailer where it's going to be like an online first-person shooter, but they're making these kind of flavor trailers for it. And this one is the first one. It's called Recall. It's really good. It's got this big monkey guy. Kind of reminds me of.
I've seen him in The Flash.
He reminds me of Monkey Man from Monkey Man and O'Brien, the Art Adams book. But it's really cool. It's just a little narrative thing. Like we get some flashbacks to when he's a little baby monkey, and
Monkey Boy.
Kind of some backstory, and then we get this one of the bad guys who kind of comes in, and we do some monkey fights.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, like apparently the part of the story here is that the Overwatch used to be like a sci-fi team, and they've all been deactivated. And then this Shadow Smoke, the Phantom guy, comes in. Darth Man comes in to steal the database that shows where all the inactive Overwatch members are.
Oh no!
Yep, and he manages to get it, and then at the very end, his name's Solomon is the name of the guy. I don't know. That might be just another monkey name or whatever. But at the end of the thing, he basically reactivates all of the Overwatch agents, and they all start popping up and blah 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 blah. But it's really good. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, like, it's funny because I was just thinking about it in like, compared to the 2 hours and 40 minutes of fucking Batman, this thing was like told me a lot I needed to in about 7 minutes, and I really wanted to see more of it. So, and this is going to be the first of a bunch of them. Now, a lot of people, I think that Brian Brushwood was online talking about, like, this isn't as good as, like, the Team Fortress 2 Meet the Team shorts, but it's not.
Is it supposed to be?
I don't think it's supposed to be the same thing. Like, those were funny, and this is more of like a narrative. And it's also, as with everything that Blizzard puts out, fucking gorgeous. Like, just really, really good looking. It really makes me wish that Blizzard would start making movies, like
a World of Warcraft movie.
No, well, yes, yes. It makes me wish that Blizzard would make a World of Warcraft movie. There's another teaser out there for World of Warcraft this week, wasn't there?
I think so.
But I didn't actually watch it. So yeah, if you haven't watched Recall, I highly recommend giving it a shot because it looks pretty cool.
Do it.
Skipped through it. Next up on the list, we have the Ratchet and Clank on the PS4 story trailer, which is a real ball buster, Joe, because this game comes out like the same week as Dark Souls 3, and I actually really love me some Ratchet and Clank.
Do you now?
I really do. I've played a bunch of all the ones on the PS3 I played, and they're all really fun. But I'm not going to not play Dark Souls 3 in order to play Ratchet and Clank. But
well, Sophie, you got to make a choice.
I know. I've already made it. But I do like this trailer because it shows a lot of kind of the gameplay. It shows the sense of humor. It seems like the sort of thing that would really, I've said this a few times before about this franchise, that it would be good for both kids and adults, and it's funny. And like the action scenes that they show look really good. In fact, while I was watching this trailer, I was kind of struck by the fact that, like, the actual gameplay of this game looks like the level looks better than a bunch of CGI movies that I saw in the theater.
Yeah,
back in the olden days. So
versus Superman.
Yes, versus Superman. This trailer told me everything I needed to know. Captain Quark. It's got a nifty soundtrack. Looks like it's fun for the whole family. I'm like, great. I love it. Wonderful. I can't wait to play this game. So we'll see.
Oh, it's coming soon.
Yeah, April 12th, and then the movie's going to be out on April 29th. All right, after that, speaking of, man, we just got the whole on hype train this week. There was a new gameplay trailer for Lego The Force Awakens, which...
God damn.
I've been very kind of blurg about.
Is there a reason why they couldn't do like a not Lego Force Awakens game?
Yes, because only Lego apparently can do tie-in stuff anymore. Like, nobody wants to do other stuff anymore. But there were a couple of really interesting things in this trailer, in this gameplay trailer. One is they showed a kind of like a third-person cover-based shooting mechanic that's going to be in the game, where you can get behind cover. And they also showed something that I think could actually breathe a lot of interesting life into the Lego games, where it's like, normally in a Lego game, you get to a certain point and then you have to just build a thing in order to continue. Yeah. Now it looks like you're going to have some choices as to what sort of thing you want to build, and they'll have different effects on the world and the environment, which, I mean, a little bit of choice would be nice. They also talk in this trailer about how, like, you're going to get to see parts around the movie. Like, they talk in this section that we're watching right now about how you're going to get to see, like, how did they capture those Rathgars, and like the further adventures of Poe Dameron and that old guy in the beginning.
And who was he anyway?
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a hard time because I'm just not as in love with the Lego aesthetic. Yeah. Like, I just kind of wish, like, even if this game was exactly the same as it was, but it was just full 3D models of people and places that weren't all Legoized, yeah, I think I would be more into it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Although it did show Mon Calamari piloting a space fighter. When's the last time you've seen one of those high and mighty assholes do that?
Okay, what you were actually seeing there was I had to explain this to Jason Murphy at one point. There's a Lego Star Wars series on Cartoon Network where they have like individual episodes that are like 20 to 30 minutes long.
Okay.
That are condensed versions of all of the movies in 1.5 hour segment. You can like run all the prequels and then all of the Rich Tridge, and then I think they even have one for the new one. But they're all tied together with this subplot of Admiral Akbar looking for his lost Jedi starfighter with C-3PO. That's what you were seeing in that one little bit there, was a nod to the Lego. And I don't even know how the fuck I know that. Actually, I know how I know that because I was at my parents' house over the holidays.
You knew at time.
Came on Cartoon Network, and I was just like, ooh, this is fun. And it's actually the best Lego thing that I've ever seen. Yeah. So, I don't know. I've gotten really tired of the Lego games, and from what I can see in this trailer, it looks like they might be doing the same thing that they did with the Lego Avengers, where they're just using dialogue samples from the movie, and then like putting in weird stuff around them so that it doesn't exactly line up.
So
and
it's kind of like a speak and spell, but with
it's so weird. It's just very strange. I don't think it works as well as when they used to, like in the original Star Wars Legos games, they used to have no dialogue and they would just make visual gag jokes.
Yeah.
And I think that worked a lot better. Or having fully original dialogue like they have in like DC superheroes where they just voice all the stuff themselves. Either way, I feel like is better than when they take those snippets and then try to put them together. And then finally on the trailer front, there's a new trailer for Hyperlight Drifter. I don't know that anybody, I mean, I hope that people still remember Hyperlight Drifter because it's always looked to me really, really interesting. I believe it's a Kickstarter project, kind of a pixel art. It's very much kind of a Zelda-y game where you're running around in kind of a top-down perspective. See if I can find something. And so you've got this combat. The big thing with this particular trailer was that they announced a release date for it, which I haven't been there before, which is March 31st. But I don't know. It's been a while since I've played one of these indie dev pixel art games. This thing has been in development for a couple of years now. I got to play it at last year's South by Southwest Interactive. And it seems really like a, real kind of labor of love work of art type of thing. Like it's got a very distinctive look to it. It's really cool looking.
It kind of reminds me of just like a crappier graphic version of Bastion.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah. Kind of like Bastion mixed with like Titan Souls or something like that. But yeah, I think it looks really cool. And if you guys haven't heard of Hyperlight Drifter before, take a look.
You've heard of it now.
You have now.
Assholes.
Mother effers. All right. And so we're just about, we kind of got a few just brief announcements to go over and then we'll be done here. The Banner Saga 2 has a release date finally, which is April 19th. Which sucks because, again, that is right around the Dark Souls 3 time.
Yeah, you got your Ratchet and Clank.
And Ratchet and Clank, yep. Have you ever seen the Banner Saga before?
No, what is that?
It's some local, I think they're local guys, actually, because I have a friend, Kilton Animator, Patrick, who actually has worked on the animation for it. It's a tactical game, but what's interesting about it is that it's there's no... The environments are very big and clear environments without a lot of stuff on them.
Okay.
So it plays a lot more like a chess game than it does like a Final Fantasy Tactics because there aren't like obstructions or anything. It's just like a big grid, right? You're on one side and they're on one side. But it's kind of got like this Norse Viking feel to it, but then they've got like a bunch of, it's kind of like Mass Effect where you've got a bunch of different races and you're trying to cobble them together to kind of...
And you just find out that the races don't mix.
That's... How many times have I told you not to bring that xenophobic anti-Banner Saga shit on my show, Joseph? Anyway, it's got some kind of some Mass Effect elements where you're talking to people, making decisions. And the first one I thought was fantastic. It came out January of last year, or I think it was right around January, February last year. And it was great. It was another Kickstarter project, and it ended on like a hella cliffhanger.
Uh-oh.
Like hella... Like to the point where I got done with that fight and I was like, what's next? And it was like, nothing, game over. If enough of this sells, maybe we'll make a sequel.
And that's how they got you.
Right. So I really can't wait to play the sequel. I mean, it was a good game. It was very abrupt in the end of its storytelling.
Why that dude holding really teeny tiny axes?
He's a really teeny tiny axe man.
I guess.
I mean, he's relying more on his polar bear cape. For those of you who can't see the screenshot, yeah. All right, so... Capcom keeps telling us that Street Fighter V is getting a bunch of updates in March. Well, it turns out that, I don't think that we completely
Believed them?
Well, no. If a company says there's going to be an update in March, what day do you think that that update is going to come out, Joe?
May.
Yeah, well, like the very last day. So they've got 2 updates that are coming for Street Fighter V. On Monday, March 28th, the first update adds a combo-focused challenge mode, the option to challenge online opponents to rematch 8-person lobbies, and some bug fixes and minor balancing. This is from a Game Informer article. 2 days later, the March 30th update adds Alex and his related story content,
Boring.
as well as the in-game shop that allows players to purchase characters and costumes used using in-game earned fight money. I read this article a few times. I don't see anything that says when the full story mode is going to be coming, which I thought it was going to be coming in March. Also, I don't know. I just really, I don't want to harp on it too much, but I really just disagree with the way that Capcom has handled the release of Street Fighter V.
This was really heartbreaking. I mean,
it just, I wanted to play it more. I wanted to like it more.
Yeah.
And
you
I
wanted
just
to
didn't.
have a game that you could actually sink into.
Well, and I'm sure that the online stuff, you know, is fine for people who want to play online. I'm just not good enough to play Street Fighter online. Or I get real pissed off when I lose a bunch online.
Yeah, you do.
And so I don't like to do that because I don't like to be all angry and pissy and shitty, right? So there you go. Yep. Let's see. Hitman had an update where they were going to be doing elusive. They were going to be calling the elusive targets, which was a mode in the game that, like, I believe it was a time-based mode where you got one chance to stalk and kill your particular target, and if you fucked it up, that was it. You were done. You get rewards for doing that. Well, that mode has been pushed back. It's been pushed back to closer to the release of the second piece of the second installment, which is Sapienza, Italy, in, I believe it's May. In any case, there have been a few additional things added, but if we want to talk, I put this right next to Street Fighter V because I think this too is kind of a fucking train wreck of, like, because I wanted to play I liked what I played in the Hitman game, but there's one mission. There's 2 tutorial missions, and then there's there's one that's a little bit more open-ended than the other one. But there's really one big complicated mission in the first episode of Hitman. And it's like, couldn't you just wait until it was done instead of releasing it, quotey fingers, episodically, one chunk at a time? Like,
Here you go, fellas. We gave you a chassis to a car.
yeah, I know there's plenty of people who will say, I don't mind that they're doing this, right? And I know there's even people that I've seen who say, I like it when they do this because I got a lot of games to play, and it means I don't have to play it all in one sitting. It's I can come back to it every few months. But I don't like to encourage, especially with this. Like, it's one thing when it's Telltale. It's one thing when Telltale makes the first episode and they take user feedback into consideration for the second episode or whatever. It is a full other thing with, say, Resident Evil Revelations 2, where Capcom releases one quotey fingers episode a week, 4 weeks in a row. That game is obviously done. Don't do it. Give us the whole game. And for Hitman, if it's not done, you need to wait until it's done. You can't just put out the first hour of your game. I really just don't want to reward companies with any kind of sympathy for doing this because I don't want to see it start to happen more and more. Because,
well, essentially all they're doing is they're building a false release date, because then why not just wait until all that shit's released?
Right. But yeah, I mean, there's a certain style of game that works as an episodic content. This isn't one of them.
Well, it's also kind of like how you talked about punishing early adopters. It's essentially doing the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, you would be probably better off waiting until this game is all the way out, playing the whole story, because it does have a narrative from start to finish instead of just getting it in this real piecemeal fashion. And, I mean, just again, to reinforce this, my fear with everything that happens in video games, right? We've seen it already happen, right? From DLC to pre-orders. The fucking Star Wars at the end of that trailer had a thing where pre-order now to get early access to the first DLC pack from Hoth. And it's like, the fuck are you? It's episode 7. Never mind. When you let companies do this shit and you don't just get up in their faces and scream as loud as you can like the internet, all that happens is that it just gradually becomes more and more normal until
they
you
assume
live.
it's okay.
Right. Until you get to a point where the next, take your pick, Batman game comes out. Well, the next Batman game is episodic already, we're the next Tomb Raider. It's like you get the first half of it so that they can cash in right now, but then they're still going to work on the second half for 3 more months, and they're going to put it out at the end of the year, right?
In this episode, you get the string to Lara's bow, but you don't get the actual bow.
Yeah, that's what I worry about, is the fact that companies are going to see the ability to not have to create a fully finished product before they start releasing it, and they're going to start abusing that. I already think that the early access system is hella abused, because people put out games that are nowhere near should probably be put out in early access just because they can, to make money now as opposed to making money later. Call me old-fashioned, but I like the model of, let me just buy the whole game. If I have to wait until September to buy the whole game, I will gladly wait until September to buy the whole game if you just give me the whole thing all at once. And you could make the argument by saying, well, Jeff, you don't have to buy the Hitman game now. You could wait until September when it's all out, and then you could just buy it then. But no, fuck you. You don't release episode 1 and make it playable and then expect me to wait. It's one thing if you release a demo, right? But it's another thing if you release a full-on first quarter of the game or something like that, and then say, okay, now just, wait until the rest of it's out. Anyway, I'm done now. It's like when full retail games put microtransactions in them.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, dude, fuck you. Fuck your microtransactions. I paid $60. Give me the whole game. Quit trying to get more money out of me. There's a whole subsection on every one of these stores, be it Steam or Xbox or PlayStation or even Nintendo, of add-on DLC content. And if I'm not going there, I don't want to have you be throwing shit up in my face. And like I've said this before, it's been a while, so maybe I'll quintuple down on it, where some people are like, well, you don't have to buy the microtransaction stuff. And it's like, I think it's offensive if you even put the option next to the, like, let's say you go to the store in your game and it's like, here's your +2 axe and it's 500 gold or 60 e-coins that you can buy. I don't even want that option there because it's like, fuck you. Quit showing me that you're greedy and just make a good product. Because we've seen numerous examples that if you just make a good game, people will fucking buy it. Like, if you just make a really good game, everybody will go out and get it. Speaking of good games that nobody went out and got, actually, I don't know if this guy worked on the second Lords of Shadow, but apparently Mercury Steam, the guys who made Castlevania Lords of Shadow, Lords of Shadow 2, are working on a new project, and they brought in a veteran of Konami, David Cox, to help work with them on it. No further information. Just, FYI, people. It was kind of a light news week outside of that, so there you go. I didn't really care for either one of the Lords of Shadow games. I heard the second one was just god-awful.
It was so awful, I didn't even try playing it because I hadn't heard of it.
Did you play the first one?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. And last but not least, it would not be a Rage Select podcast. It would not be a Rage Select news segment. It would not be a Rage Select anything unless we talk about Dark Souls 3 a little bit.
Oh my God, you're going to play the game and then it's really hard and you die, but then you're like, I'm Jeff, I'm going to play it some more.
Damn right. That's exactly, Joe has just externalized the thoughts that I have inside of my noggin when I'm playing the old Dark Souls. So
this one's about having dirty hands.
Oh, well, this trailer, the Japanese release trailer starts with the intro from the very first Dark Souls, which is what that was. But it's got some, it's going to be difficult for me to keep talking about Dark Souls 3 until it actually gets released because it's more, I keep watching these trailers and it's just like, well, that was cool. And well, that was cool. Well, that was cool. And it all looks cool. Joe, what would a person have to do to get you to play all the way through Dark Souls? Get back into Dark Souls and play anything?
Give me a PS4.
Get you well, it's not on the PS4.
No, I didn't say it was.
Oh, the price for you to play the original Dark Souls is to purchase you a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I could fair.
No, not really.
Well, not for the person buying it for me.
That's
That's not my concern.
Okay. All right. I've managed to remain fairly in the dark about what's going on in the plot of this game. This one tends to have a little bit more plot stuff. I do recognize these guys, the Sentinels of the Abyss or whatever, two of them fighting each other.
Oh, man, what happened?
Big old hats, and then a boss fight with one of them where he's got like a big old like Maria sword. I just think that, regardless of whether you like the Souls games or whether you don't like the Souls games, I think that Hidetaki Miyazaki, is his first name Miyazaki? Like, he's, I feel like, great with environment and creatures and kind of the drama of these particular sorts of games. So
It kind of feels like it's like what God of War was trying to do.
yeah. Yeah, God of War is kind of its own thing. What? Shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Suck
it.
Damn it, I didn't even realize it. Sorry, I didn't watch that trailer all the way to the end, Joe.
Uh-huh.
It came out in Japan today.
Yeah, duh.
Well, I could have gone to the store and bought a $60 Japanese PlayStation Network card and been playing the Japanese version right now.
I was playing it at work.
Sure, fuck you.
What were you doing?
Don't you tell me that. I won't be.
I put it on the company dime.
You jerk. You're a jerk. All right, we got to stop this podcast because Joe is a goddamn jerk.
I didn't even die once, and I wasn't even trying hard.
Fuck you. Fuck you. All right, well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have questions. Maybe. Or I might just beat Joe to death
I
in the
can tell you
parking
the
lot.
answers.
Just
like the
shut
girl
up.
dies at the end.
Just shut up. Just shut up, all right? All right, we're going to take a break. You shut up. And we're back.
Ooh, that took a little while now, didn't it?
Yeah. All right. So, folks, hey, a little behind the scenes here from Rage Select. So, Joe and I we were scheduled. Joe had to take off. So, we're actually recording this question and answer segment several days after the first segment. So, if like I sound different, it's because it's been different. Also, my stomach is entirely full of buttered popcorn. I feel like I'm going to throw up in any second. So
Yeah, and we're keeping watch.
yeah, it's like the first time I ever podcasted when I was so nervous I thought I was going to throw up, except for an entirely different reason that I feel like I'm going to throw up. So we've got some questions that we're going to get to, but before we do that, I've been doing some like little mini game reviews here in the second segment because our questions have been a little bit lighter recently.
Okay.
So this week, the only game that I feel like I could really talk about in that respect is Day of the Tentacle Remastered came out.
Yeah.
So let's see. For those of you who are young or didn't have a PC or just never bothered with Day of the Tentacle, Day of the Tentacle is. Have you played Day of the Tentacle?
Yeah, way back when.
Okay. Day of the Tentacle is the sequel to Maniac Mansion, old PC NES game, I believe. I know at least it was on the NES. I'm pretty sure it was on the PC as well. And it's about it takes place years in the future. And you're going to have to stay with me here because it's, Purple Tentacle and Green Tentacle are out tentacle around one day, and Purple Tentacle decides to drink out of the toxic waste sludge coming out of the back of Dr. Fred's mansion.
Yeah.
And he gains super strength, he gains tiny little arms because these are basically just like a half a tentacle with a big sucker on the bottom and three little, suckers on the front. He gains some little tiny arms, more intelligence, and evil, and decides to take over the world.
Well, the intelligence is the evil part.
Right. And so Dr. Fred sends Bernard, one of the only returning protagonists from Maniac Mansion, a letter saying, "Come help me, Purple Tentacle's gone totally evil." So him and I believe it's his two siblings, Laverne, who is this crazy medical student, who is, she reminds me a lot of like if you crossed like Dee Dee from Dexter's Lab, and Elmira from Tiny Toons, and that she has no problem.
She will fucking cut you.
Yeah, well, like everybody comes with an item to start with, and hers is a scalpel.
Yeah.
And then Hoagie, who's this big fat, like kind of rock and roll 90s surfer dude, who's just like, oh man, that's so gnarly, wicked. So they all jump in the truck and they head to Dr. Fred's house. And then, there's a little opening part, but then they all get sent back into various points in history and adventure ensues.
So it's basically House of a Thousand Corpses, the game.
Yes, except not even a little bit.
I don't follow.
Except you're not even close. So this is it's a stock standard adventure game. And I feel like if you're a person who has been... who has grown up on a steady diet of what they call adventure now, a.k.a. the Telltale games, which are not really adventure games, you should do yourself a favor and play a real adventure game. Now, that's no shade at the Telltale games. It's just that they are like when you take all of the things that people like those games for, the choice and dialogue and, Joe will remember that, that kind of bullshit. Like, what's left as far as adventure goes is very shallow.
Yeah.
Like, there's 3 items, and then you use each one of them on each thing in the level, and then you find out a thing, as opposed to LucasArts. This comes from the era of classic LucasArts adventure games like The Dig, which was fucking diabolically difficult. Sam & Max, Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, all those things.
I still miss the Full Throttles.
Well, they're remastering Full Throttle next.
Yeah, well, they goddamn better.
Yep.
Actually, I still have my original Full Throttle shirt.
Oh, really?
I pre-ordered the game.
Wow. I want a Gone Jackals band T-shirt. That's what I really want. But in any case, so it's funny because I remembered this game being very difficult when I was a kid and I first played it. And then when Sarah and I recorded 2 dojos and then a Patreon video for it this week, after she left, I was just like, oh, wait, I figured out the answer to that one thing. And I just sat there and beat it. Like, it wasn't, it didn't take as much. And I don't know if that's just like the latent answers sitting in my head from
sitting there.
Yeah, when I was, just like bubbling back up from back the first time that me and my best friend at the time finished the game. But it wasn't especially difficult. And if you can figure everything out, I beat it in about 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
I think it's like $15 on the PlayStation Network.
Well, that's a night's worth of entertainment.
50 to 20, something like that. It's not super expensive. There is a developer commentary that they turn on where you can hit down button, and I'm assuming because Double Fine put it out that it's Tim Schafer. I didn't actually look into it. But that could, if you're into that sort of thing, if you're a director's commentary sort, that could definitely extend the life of it. One of the things that they've done that's real nice is, of course, the graphics have been updated, and they're pretty good. It's like they haven't redrawn everything. It's more like they put all of the sprites through like a interpolation machine and then went back in and kind of cleaned them up. But like, for example, in all of the old LucasArts games, when people talk, they have this weird like 3-position mouth flap that just goes. That's still there, right? Dr. Fred has this weird idle animation with his hands where he's rubbing them back and forth. That's still there. But all the puzzles, near as I can tell, are just the way they were in the original Day of the Tentacle, which is good. All the dialogue seems, and the music and everything. The music, I think, might have had a little bit of a facelift because it was all MIDI bullshit back in the old days.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But the biggest thing that they did that was really awesome is... So for those of you who have never played an old LucasArts game, like the way that they used to be was that the top, say, like 2/3 of the screen was the game, and then the bottom third of the screen was this giant black bar with like look, pick up, push, pull, taste, all these things, and like your inventory on one side. Well, that bar is gone, and the game is now takes up the entire screen with the art that's in the game, which is great. What happens is that when you select a thing, there's a little context-sensitive menu that comes up, kind of like the SCUM interface in the later games, that'll let you pick a thing, and that's the way you interact with it. Also, even inventory that you can open. But it's great because those games are all really beautiful, and I feel like they deserve a full screen of real estate.
Yeah. Let's see the game, guys.
So, yeah, if you're interested, it's a fun game. I feel like it's very funny. There was one person in the comment section who was just like, ooh, I've been hearing nerds whine about this game for years. I hope that it lives up to my expectations. It's not going to. I'm just going to put that out there right now. It's just an adventure game. It's just well beloved, and if you played it back in the old days, it's good. I feel like the absurdist humor of LucasArts games still holds up today, that it's kind of like, it kind of fits with internet meme humor, right? Is that it's just really weird and dopey and kind of like, strange, and Day of the Tentacle is no exception. Like there's the 3 different time periods, and like the same kind of character design shows up in all of the different time periods as different people. But yeah, I think it's worth playing, and if you've never played it before, pick it up. Or if you're on the fence about it, I'd be willing to bet that it's probably going to be either a free PlayStation Plus game or on sale on Steam.
Yeah. Just wait for the summer sale, guys.
Before too long, and then you can pick it up for $10, and then you won't feel like, oh no, I only got 4 hours of game, because I feel like it's really worth it. Other than that, I finished Salt and Sanctuary last week. That game remains good. Mages are still broken. I just made a mage and then plowed through the entire game with no difficulty whatsoever.
Mages know how to plow.
Yep. So, and I feel like Salt and Sanctuary is great, but Dark Souls 3 right around the corner. I don't know. If you want to play it now before it's too late.
Wait, play Dark Souls 3 before it's too late?
Well, no. Okay. I'll pull back the curtain here a little bit. Dark Souls 3 is not out.
No, it's not.
In the United States. Yeah. I am playing it because it is out in Japan, and if you're willing to do a little bit of work, you can buy 8,000 yen on the Microsoft Store and then put that into the Japanese Microsoft Store and buy the Japanese version of it. And I will say this, we'll come back to Dark Souls 3 because I'm still not sure whether I want to do it now or whether I had a whole plan about what to do until it came out, and I'm not sure if I want to mess that plan up. But
well, you could do it with Japanese commentary.
well, okay, so here's the thing. I mean, I can confirm that the Xbox One version of the game is 100% in English. It looks no different than what I would expect the U.S. version. All of the item descriptions are in English. All the dialogue is in English. All the area names are in English. All the menus are in English. Like, everything is in English. So if you have an Xbox One, I even read a thing where somebody emailed Microsoft. They're like, "Are you going to ban my account if I do this?" Which I was just like, "I've just created a new account. What the fuck's wrong with you?" And Microsoft's answer was this weird one of like, well, we've never restricted people from buying things in other regions. However, we do frown upon it. It's like, don't be coy, ass. Like, are you going to ban me or not? If you're going to ban my gamer tag that has all of my achievements, that I play everything, that I do all my, I want to know that.
Yeah, just straight up yes or no is fine.
And if you're not, then say no. Don't put this little like, well, we frown upon it. Well, fucking, I don't care what you frown upon.
Steve Ballmer, even though he's retired, he'll still be like, "Oh, I don't like you."
Yeah, you grumpy cat all you want to, Microsoft, but is it all right, and are you going to ban me? And don't change your mind once you do, because, well, I'm sure that Microsoft doesn't mind, having a bunch of money come in. Yeah. The only problem that I have, Joe, is that before I figured out where the yen gift cards were, I accidentally bought like $70 worth of like American money.
Ooh.
That I now have on an Xbox Live account that I have no intention for using for anything outside of playing Dark Souls 3. So now I have to technical support Microsoft, because of course they don't want to let you can't just like
get it back.
Yeah, you can't just be like, "Yo, give my money back." They don't do that. So now it's like I'm going to have to do technical support. Be like, "Can you transfer this to maybe like because I'll buy Quantum Break with it if that's what it takes, but I'm just not interested in having $70 sit in one account for the rest of my life with nothing." So anyway, all right, well, let's get on to the emails. And our first email comes in from our friend KJ, who says, "Dear Knights of Rage Souls, I bought Salt Sanctuary as well as Kerbal Space Program today. This is all because of you. Playing Kerbal feels like an uphill battle, but one that feels good because I know that I'm getting better at it. With Salt and Sanctuary, killing the damn sod knight felt amazing after a few tries to get the hang of things. My question is, what are some games other than the Souls series that felt good despite constant trial and error? I've tried Dark Souls, but returned it before I knew about the hidden easy mode, being a mage. May your souls be dark and salt plenty. KJ."
Dance Revolution.
Well, that's true. I feel like on that same tip that like Guitar Hero kind of falls into that category, right? Something you have to like practice at to get good at, but when you do, then you have a totally useless skill that
you sure do. A myopic expertise.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like any real good, like, okay. So I'm trying to answer this question. You just remove all Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm.
Platinum games have a thing with that. Like all of the Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, which I guess I just ruled out all Nintendo games, and Bayonetta 2 is technically published by Nintendo. Some of the early Devil May Cry games really will reward you for or are difficult, but will really reward you if you spend the time to like learn the combos, learn the combat, learn that sort of thing. Anything that's real, just, timing or focus based. I also feel like, there's a lot of, I don't do it as much, but I feel like there's a lot of online games that will, if you can get over the frustration, that will reward you.
Supposedly that Dota's real big.
Yeah, Dota's just, it is so big. Like it's daunting because there's like 120 characters or something like that, and then each one of those characters has a near infinite number of variations with different loadout items that you can buy.
And do you want to pick your character based on what they can do or how fun it will be to cosplay as them?
Yeah, yes.
There's lots of different considerations.
Yeah, that's why I liked Heroes of the Storm, because it was relatively simple for me to go through all of the heroes and at least get a good idea, because there were only like 30. And it's because the reason that the 120 heroes in Dota is so daunting is because you don't just learn one hero. You need to learn every hero and what they can do, because even if you're going to play as this guy, you need to know the capabilities, right, of when this one starts rolling up on you, what can they do? You know, are they ranged? Are they stealth? Are they, I forget what they call them.
Cheeseburgers?
There's a certain type of character that, like, when you hit a high enough level with them, they become unstoppable. But in the beginning and mid game, they're completely worthless. So they're called carries because the team has to carry them. But if the team can keep them alive and keep them leveling up, then when they do hit the top tier, suddenly it's like the pendulum swings in the opposite direction. And
So they're like Jonah Hills.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what that reference means, but in any case. Dota maybe not, but maybe take a look at some of the other ones, like Paragon on the PlayStation 4, or and it's on the PC as well, or Heroes of the Storm, that sort of thing. I mean, I feel like those are games that are new and small enough that you can kind of get some experience with them. I don't know. See, one of the things that's hard to quantify is that, I mean, well, I guess, does anything spring to mind outside of Dance Dance Revolution for you, Joe?
I would say like a nuanced fighting game. Like a
Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat sort of thing?
Soul Calibur 3 had a whole lot more nuance to like parrying and riposting that like was hard to master, but once you did, you were just fucking unstoppable.
Yeah,
and then they dumbed it down.
I almost feel like any good game, any good lasting game is going to have something along those lines. I mean, some of them are real story focused and fun. I feel like the entire game industry has become more story focused, but the problem that I kind of have with this question, not like I got a problem with your question, lady, is I feel like the Soul series and Bloodborne, for that matter,
Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. Well, Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, that's a good answer. But recently, that the Soul series have really stood out by just taking an old school concept and then refusing to budge on it, right?
Well, I think what's like with that or with Ninja Gaiden, it is super hard, but it's always fair. Like, you're not cheesed out of your life. Like,
right,
you made the wrong choice.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the things that makes the game so compelling, right? Is because the games are fair. There's a certain amount of every time you go to a new area. You see new enemies, you're like, all right, what's your deal, bro? Are you grabby? Are you shooty? Do you poison? What's your thing, friend? And that's one of the things when I was trying to talk to Matt Frank about playing Bloodborne is that when I make videos for Bloodborne, and this always sounds like such a dick thing to say because because it is, but then you've qualified afterwards, is that anybody, actually, I'm going to say it about me, that way it'll seem less dicky. Anybody who's played a lot of Bloodborne, like, they'll go to the first level and they make the game look like it's a really easy game to play because you know how those guys attack. You know, like, one of my big things whenever I'm talking to people about the Souls games is just knowing how far the attack from the attacker goes to the point where you could just take 2 steps back and then it whiffs in front of you.
Yeah.
But that's just a thing that comes with experience. You fight that enemy a bunch of times and then you get to a point where you're like, I don't need to block, I don't need to parry, I don't need to do anything. All I have to do is take 1 step back and then they're going to be all on one side of their attack animation and then I can just go blah, 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 and then they'll be dead.
Well, but that's a fundamental of actual fighting.
Right. Well,
like in real life.
So what you're saying is that because I play these games, I'm actually good at fighting in real life.
Yes.
Or actually, no. What you're saying is that I need to go get my ass kicked a bunch of times, and then I'll be able to accurately gauge. You're saying right now.
Yeah, you're already ready.
I am
so underground Austin fighting rings. Okay. Like, just enter and just fucking rake in money.
I think that sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a wonderful idea. All right, well, hope we can help you out, Katie. Next one comes in from Ashanti79. And Ashanti writes in to say, greetings from Toronto. In defense of...
Jeff, it's Toronto.
Oh. What did I say?
You have to say Toronto.
I said Toronto.
No, you said Toronto. It's Toronto.
Toronto?
Yeah, trust me.
Like, okay. Like the guy from the Fast and the Furious? No?
No.
Okay.
That's Toronto.
Greetings from Toronto. In defense of Far Cry Primal, Criminal did an episode where a defense attorney unsuccessfully argued that his client was innocent of murder, of the murder of his wife, which the attorney determined, based on forensics and speaking with experts, was in fact killed by an owl. The couple was drinking lightly, and out of nowhere, his wife dropped unconscious and later died from mysterious head wounds. After further analysis, microscopic owl feathers were found in her wounds, for which no actual murder weapon was identified. Apparently, though it happens infrequently, owls are known to attack people, particularly in wooded areas, by silently flying above and digging their talons into the skull. So at least in terms of its killer owl mechanics, Far Cry Primal is not off base. I don't know that I ever actually suggested. I don't remember on a dojo spending like 20 minutes going like, dude, fuck this
owls.
Fuck this owl mechanic. Owls never kill anything. Owls
hey,
are
woodsy. Fuck off.
They're beautiful and give a hoot, man. To my question, very briefly, I used to be an avid gamer in my youth, and then life happened. Eventually, I got married, moved to Canada, and bought the orange box. I don't know. One of these things is not like the other. Long story short, I didn't have a work permit, had nothing but free time, and then Steam happened. Now I have over 100 games, and I do not know where to start. Do I sit down and muscle through a game at a time until I finish, or play a little bit of different genres to spice things up? Now that you don't have to do reviews, you can play games at your leisure. What do you do about games you wanted to play in the past but did not have time for? Your expert advice would be greatly appreciated. P.S. Is there any chance that me, being a dirty casual PC gamer, will ever be able to play Bloodborne? Also, do you know how it is? I can mostly beat Dark Souls 1 and 2, but find Skyrim to be too difficult. I assume it is because Dark Souls doesn't really have a linear progression, and so you can muscle through areas you aren't supposed to be yet by sheer skill, where a freaking lion in Skyrim will tear you a new one if you aren't at the level you're supposed to be. Or maybe I'm just playing Skyrim wrong. Ashanti79. I like the fact that Ashanti says types Skyrim as two words. Sky space rim.
Well,
it's the rim of the sky.
Well, it's going to be the next Pacific Rim.
Oh, Skyrim.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. No, he's got early access.
yeah. All right, so let's see. Let's take these questions one at a time.
Okay, first off, I want to get back to you. So the lady was killed by basically owl poisoning?
No. It physically. Like it,
but she overdosed on owl.
Yes, she OD'd on owl. I've actually listened to this episode of Criminal. No, it's like it was what she was outside. It was like the middle of the night. They were drinking. She went outside, and then like, ow, what happened? Like it's like something hit her in the head, and she was like, oh, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, there's blood on my hands. So she goes back inside, and then when she gets inside, I believe that it was like something like she fainted at the top of the stairs and then fell down the stairs. So then when the police come, and the dude's like, oh my God, there's just blood everywhere. My wife, and then the cops come, and he's like, my wife, she fell down the stairs, and they're like, well, we can't find any reason for her to have fallen down the stairs. And you guys had some noise complaints or something like that. It's been a long time. I could be mangling this all up. But then like this one guy started to find these different things where owls will just come down and like grab your head with their talons and cause serious damage. Where in the forensics, they looked at her and they found tiny micro owl feathers like in her wounds. But I don't think they actually did anything about it because the court was like, well, we already convicted that guy. We fried him already.
The owl's not going to confess.
That's right. Who did it? Who? Mr. Owl. Who?
We ask the questions here, Owl.
That's right. So let's see. Okay, the first question was, I have over 100 games. Do I play them one at a time, or do I go back and play them a little bit at a time, piecemeal to spice things up? I can tell you from my experience that the latter means you'll never finish any one of those games. You'll just keep moving between games, and none will ever get finished. I think it's much better, or it's easier to sit down and try to just roll through a game from start to finish, or at least focus on one game, right?
Yeah. Well, I give it a fair shot.
Right.
And then if it still hasn't grabbed you by like hour 3, move on. But this whole...
What's JRPG when you move that up to like 10 or 12 or something like that?
Yeah, or like 30 for JRPGs.
Sure.
Yeah. No, but I find it weird, this whole notion of him being a casual gamer. He's got the amount of games, and he's unemployed.
Well, here's the thing. I think that... okay, so...
I'm saying he's got what it takes to be pro.
I think that in the casual sense, I think that he's being ironic. I think that what is actually being asked in that PS is there, because what it says is there any chance that me, being a dirty casual PC gamer, will ever be able to play Bloodborne? I think that he's asking, is there any chance that Bloodborne will ever come to the PC?
Oh, okay.
And the answer to that is no, because if From Software made a deal with Sony to make Bloodborne for the PS4. It's not going to be on the Xbox One. I don't know. Someday, maybe 10 years down the road,
remastered.
Yeah, when they're remastering this console generation, maybe. But the thing is that Demon's Souls isn't out on anything besides, that was a PS3 game that Sony paid for, basically for From Software to make. There's such a huge rabid following in the Souls community right now that if From Software could put that game out on the PC, I'm pretty sure they would. Like, it would sell like gangbusters.
Yeah, they like money.
Yeah, everybody likes money. Money's great. Makes the world go round. But then I don't know. All the old Kingsfield games, they haven't put any of those out to be able to buy on any amount of platform. Maybe they don't like money. Maybe they're like,
we have enough
integrity. That's what we're into. But no, I don't think you're ever going to be able to play Bloodborne on the PC. Let's see. The other question was, now that you don't have to do any reviews and can play games at your leisure, what do you do about the games that you wanted to play in the past but do not have time for? I make Let's Plays about them. Like Brian and I just got finished with Until Dawn, and that was a game that I wanted to play, but it came out the same week as like Bloodborne or Dark Souls 2 or something like that. Oh no, Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, no.
Is that the one with the Stanley Tucci looking motherfucker?
Metal Gear Solid 5?
No. No, the Donnie thing you were talking about.
Until Dawn?
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci? You mean the doctor?
I guess, but every time you would post a pic of it, like, oh, we're playing Until Dawn with Brian. I was like, is that Stanley Tucci?
No, it's what's his name? It's the it's actually, I mean, they did a bunch of face tech on it, so they actually have people like what's her name? Hayden Breadstore from Heroes is on there, and she looks just like her dumb Heroes. Mr. Robot is on there. The guy that plays the kid in Mr. Robot is in there. But the guy in Fargo who put the lady in the wood chipper.
Steve Buscemi?
No. The other guy, his friend,
his buddy,
who was like the scientist in Deep Blue Sea, I think, or he plays the doctor. So it's not Stanley Tucci; it's that guy. I can never remember his fucking name. All I wanted to say is Udo Kier, but I know it's not Udo Kier.
Not Udo Kier.
Because I don't know, man. That game is so weird. I didn't see any of. I thought the game was going to go over in direction A, and then it just completely veered off about halfway through. Also, do you know how it is that I can beat Dark Souls 1 and 2 but find Skyrim to be too difficult? Well, Dark Souls 1 and 2 are pretty fair, whereas, I mean, I've been playing a bunch of Fallout 4 this week, and here's the thing. I think Bethesda makes big old worlds, and I think they do a thing that almost nobody else does with making these big worlds that have a lot of detail and are populated with a lot of different things and stuff and quests and this stuff. For the most part, I think the combat systems in Bethesda games are god-awful.
Okay.
Like, you're either completely underpowered or just a goddamn killing machine. Like, there's no in between. There's no, like, I'm pretty good. Like, I tried playing a build in Fallout 4 that was all stealth, and it didn't work very well.
So is it pretty much a grind it until you find it sort of thing?
Well, in Skyrim, what I can say was that I figured out, like, in Skyrim, I've played about 4 different ways in Skyrim, and it's like, once you hit a certain point in the combat tree, it's just like a switch gets flipped. And then now everything is easy except for the dragons and sometimes frost trolls or whatever. In Fallout 3, it was kind of the same way, where like once you hit a certain thing, it's just like vats, and you're all dead. Even in Fallout 4, I tried making a well-balanced character because, the special, it has like the 7 or 8 stats or whatever. And then I saw this build online that I wanted to use for a video that we're making where it was just like 10 strength, 9 agility, or 9 agility and like 4 luck, and then everything else is 1s. Charisma, intelligence, all that shit's 1. Endurance, 1. Like, just all strength. And what are you going to do with that? You're going to punch stuff. And what's that stuff going to do? It's going to die in 1 hit every single time.
So you were the kick puncher.
Right. I was One Punch Man, and you know what? It was great. Like, I found a big, giant metal, like, hand weapon that you can then punch stuff with, and I'm just like, great. I put everything in. In fact, I now got to the point where I got all the skills I needed, and I had other skills left over, and I'm just like, how about more damage reduction? Oh, that works even better. So I feel that the reason that might work is because the Dark Souls series has this like really finely crafted combat system, whereas in Bethesda games, and it's just their style, it's much more loose and sloppy, right? So Skyrim is actually a perfect example of the opposite of what Katie Lynn was saying, which is that you could be really good at the combat to Skyrim, but it wouldn't matter if you were up against something that was 4 or 5 levels higher than you,
right?
Because you're just going to get one-shotted, right? It's not going to be you're not just not going to have the tools to do anything but get one-shotted. So, all right, our next question comes in from Daniel, who says, "Hello, folks. While I was trotting around the wasteland in Fallout 4. I came across a terminal that had random journal entries. Normally, I ignore these as they have no story consequences. However, I decided to read the entries, and within them was a story about a Chinese-American boy that had to deal with discrimination, his family being split up about the anti-Chinese hysteria of the war, the apocalypse, and one of his members secretly being a Chinese spy. Safe to say I was moved by this narrative, and I had to stop and reflect on it. Based on this experience, I wanted to ask y'all, have you ever encountered a story element in a game that isn't part of the main storyline that left a major impression on you? If you can't think of one in games, you can also use movies, books, and shows as well. Thanks, and take care, Daniel. What do you think, Joe?
I would say the Xenosaga series, but it actually was a part of the storyline. It was just so goddamn convoluted that it didn't seem like it connected.
What in particular are you talking about?
Oh, like the parallels between the body of Mary of Magdalene was something, and then like the soul of Mary of Magdalene was inside Cosmos, and then like Jesus actually happened, but he was chaos, and then there's just this dumb asshole who was like speaking on the mound, and so actual Jesus is just like, yeah, let me help you out with those little miracles, buddy.
Wow,
yeah,
that game,
boy, that game.
I mean,
I beat all of it twice. So.
yeah. I'd say, what is the most compelling sub-story you've ever seen in a video game? Obviously, it's the saga of Johnny Sasaki in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, a.k.a. Did you play Metal Gear? You play Metal Gear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play some Metal Gear? You know who I'm talking about, yeah?
Nope. Mm-mm.
Okay. So, did you play Metal Gear Solid 4?
No.
Okay. In Metal Gear Solid 4, Meryl has her own team, and one of her team is this like real kind of like messed up guy called Johnny, who's always pooping all the time.
Oh, okay.
It's the reason, fucking Kojima loves his fucking poop humor, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out to be actually a major plot point, is that he hasn't had the nanomachine treatments, and that's why he poops all the time, because the nanomachines aren't controlling his bodily functions. And then when the nanomachine network goes crazy and everybody's like, they're holding their heads and they're all going crazy, he's like, I'm fine, I just poop all the time. And then actually he becomes a love interest for Meryl, and at the very end of it, spoiler for Metal Gear Solid 4, you've had the time. You have too, Joe.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, him and Meryl get married.
Does he poop his pants during the ceremony?
No. It's actually funny because he comes, like, Meryl is trying to like hold the fort while Snake is doing this thing. Yeah, and he shows up and with like he's like her reinforcements, and they have this like protracted sequence where these enemy troops are coming in and they're shooting them, and they're like shooting them over each other's shoulders, and they're handing each other clips, and then they're kind of like smooching a little bit in the meantime, and they're like professing their love. It's a really nice little sequence. But Johnny Sasaki is a character that has been in every Metal Gear game.
Huh.
In the very first game, he's the guard that is guarding you in the cell when they put you in the cell, because he's got stomach problems and he's got to poop. So he goes to poop, right? And then you get a chance to escape the cell and you knock him out. You can't actually kill him. In Metal Gear Solid 2, there's a time where Solidus and I believe it's Revolver Ocelot are like having a conversation.
Yeah.
And you're listening to it with your little directional microphone that you have in 2. And it turns that if you go to the left and like just point it at like this wall over here, that you can hear Johnny over there, and he's pooping again. He's like, "Oh man, this is worse than Shadow Moses. Oh god, I'm crapping myself inside out." And then in Metal Gear Solid 3, you get locked up in a cell, and the guy that's guarding your cell is Johnny Sasaki's grandfather, and he talks about how he's going to have a son, and then he has some stomach troubles, and it's like this weird thing, this undercurrent through all of the games that this pooping guy who turns out to be really a really pivotal role by the end of it, where you just go, "God damn, you dig deep, Kojima." That's my joke answer, and it's really long. But my real answer, I guess, is, I mean, I hate to keep coming back to it, but there's so many. This whole series is a huge side quest. Like Dark Souls 1, go watch Vati Vijaya's Prepare to Cry videos about Dark Souls 1. Like there's a ton of little characters. Like I didn't realize it, but there's a character that you meet really early on who gives you the thing that you heal with in Dark Souls 1. Mm-hmm. You played Dark Souls 1, right?
Yes.
The guy behind the wall, right? Oscar. Yeah. Well, he's supposed to be like your constant companion throughout the entire game, but he gets killed early on. And he actually comes from the ceiling because like the big asylum demon that you face is on the roof, and it knocked him through the roof, and that's why he's dead. But in some of the people have data mined Dark Souls and found all this dialogue from him where he was supposed to be like a person that followed you through the game, and it wasn't clear which one of you was like the chosen one. He's like the Neville Longbottom to your Harry Potter, so to speak, right? And at the end of the game, after you've beaten the last boss, he shows up, and regardless of what you've chosen, he's like, I disagree with you, and then you have to kill him. And I'm like, what a great little thing that they didn't put in. But like Solaire's story, he wants to find his own son, and then eventually he finds these bugs that kind of look like a son, and one gets on his face, and it drives him insane, and then you have to kill him. Or Sigmire is this knight that is trying to adventure through the world, but he keeps getting stuck, and you keep helping him. But every time you help him, you're like eroding his actual self-confidence until the point where he tries to go and defeat this really big monster, and then he dies, and he comes back as a zombie, essentially, and you have to kill him. So there's a bunch of little stories like that. In Bloodborne, you rescue this woman who's... Hell, I didn't even realize this, but there's a bunch of stuff in Bloodborne that I didn't ever see. Like, there's a prostitute that you rescue. In Bloodborne, there's a church, and you can tell people, go to the church, and then they'll go and they'll show up and whatever. And there's like all these little people have these little sub stories. Like there's an old woman that you send who's real cranky, but then she starts going crazy, and she thinks you're her son, and she keeps giving you this item, and if you keep taking it from her, eventually she runs out of them, and then you find her corpse like outside the church because she was out there trying to find more of them, and she got killed by the monsters. There's another one where there's a prostitute that you get, and she'll give you her blood, and you can use it. It's like a mega healing item. But there's a nun that you can get, and if you keep getting the blood from the prostitute, the nun is like, that blood is dirty, and she will murder the prostitute and then completely ineffectually try to kill you, like in the courtyard over here, like just pushover, right? But she's just like, I have to do this, and she just goes fucking psycho. So there's a bunch of little stuff like that in all of the Souls games that I find to be really good.
I would say the allusions to the ongoing race wars and Cooking Mama was probably my favorite.
It kind of came out of nowhere, right?
It really did.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I was just like, cook it. Oh, mama.
Well,
wow.
Those dirty greenbacks.
Damn. Anyway, I'm sure there's more. I always skip. I mean, do you play Skyrim or Fallout at all?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I just don't have time.
There's so many, like in Skyrim, there were all these books, and there was like a full book, and you could just read the book, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like 10 pages long, but I was just like, Skyrim, I'm busy murdering dragons. I don't care about the saga of like the 4 princes in the land of Garbonia or whatever the fuck it is. Like, I don't care about this. So, all right, next one comes in from Ken. Ken says, hello, Rage Select. With the upcoming release of multiple VR platforms, I'm reminded a lot of console wars propaganda, with nostalgia being a massive selling point for the different platforms. Do you see VR trying to tap into consumers' nostalgia through bringing games or franchises to the experience, or is this going to be a fairly fresh slate for games and developers? Thank you all for what you do, Ken. Okay, I didn't entirely understand this question when I pulled it up, but I understand it now.
Okay.
When they put out VR platforms, do you think that they're going to release like a shitload of like VR edition games of re-release games, or do you think they're just going to develop?
Of what, like Panzer Dragoon?
Well, yeah, or anything that would work there. Like, the BioShock Infinite, the VR edition, right? Or, Resident Evil 4, VR edition, or, God of War 3, now with 10 times more VR than it ever had.
Super fish suit.
Right. Again, the stupid Kratos suits. I hope they do, to be honest, because it would bolster the library very quickly.
Well, yeah, and like the IP, like it would be really cheap to just go ahead and license that, and as far as like story elements go, that's already done.
Right,
so
right.
You've established the world, now you just got to adapt it.
Which I think that it would actually be. Not only would it, I think it would actually be really smart, because it would be a way for people to be like, well, fuck you. I played Bioshock Infinite before. Like, here, put this on for a second. Say, oh fuck, I'm there. I'm actually in the world. Like, oh my god.
Oh, what's her face? She's so pretty.
Elizabeth. Fuck Elizabeth, man. She's stupid.
Stupid head. I hate her head.
I actually think that all they really need to do is just get Grand Theft Auto 5 to have VR support
hell yeah.
all the different platforms. It's like it already has first person in that re-release, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's already a VorpX driver that makes the PC version of it that manhandles VR into the PC version of it. But I want like a full-on version because that would be incredible. It would be awesome. But yeah, I hope that they do. Now, I honestly think that they're going to be too stupid about it. I hope. I a lot of times I say these things in the overwhelming hope, Joe, that I am proven way wrong and I have to come in here and be like, I'm a big dumb and I don't know what I'm talking about.
You want them to prove you wrong, like Microsoft not banning your account.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That was basically a challenge you set forth earlier.
That's correct. I just hope it's not like the Kinect. Because the thing with like the Kinect, right? And the thing is, I think the Kinect has turned out to be, I mean, well, look at how many Xbox One games have any Kinect integration whatsoever, right? Like, it was a decent idea, but what it needed to do was augment existing games, not have games that were fully designed just for the Kinect. Because then all you have is fucking Wii games, dancing games, and like, you know, or first-person shooters that require you to be stand up and moving around the entire time, because fuck a bunch of that. I played Killzone 3 like halfway through with that PlayStation, that big plastic gun with the Move controller sticking out of the front of it. It was an incredibly awkward experience. Also, my knees got really tired.
Hey-o.
Yep. What's the hey-o for? Was the implication that I was
don't worry about
filleting Killzone 3?
Maybe?
Or the Move controller?
I mean, it's your call. I'm not judging you negatively. It's more of just an observation.
Okay. Well, I hope. So what I guess what I'm getting at is that I keep seeing all these things that are like brand new VR experience. Here's a new VR controller. Here's our controller that lets you do motion. Here's your blah blah blah. It's like, dude, just put Grand Theft Auto 5 out. Just put Skyrim out. Or Fallout 4 out. Or fucking take Call of Duty. Make the next Call of Duty have VR support. Make the next Battlefield have VR support. I'm glad that EA and DICE are apparently doing something with Battlefront, because any first-person shooter game already kind of has VR support. It just has to be retooled a little bit.
Yeah.
I played Half-Life 2 on the Oculus DK2. It was perfect. It worked perfectly. You have to do a little bit of reprogramming to disconnect your viewpoint from your gun. Like, you have to have two separate inputs.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's fine. So I hope that they do, because there's plenty of games that I would love to play in VR, and not just Dark Souls.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've got the options.
Yeah. I was actually talking with, I don't know if I said this on the air, but I think I was talking with John about how, like, you know, the Dark Souls 3 is supposed to be the last Dark Souls game. And with VR coming out, if From Software, I talked about this last week on the podcast, new Kingsfield, VR Kingsfield. That's what I want. That's all I want in the world is a new VR Kingsfield. Are you at all excited about VR, Joe?
I don't know. I've had my heart broken so many times before. Like, you remember when hologram games were supposed to be the next big thing?
Yep. Sure do.
As long as it's not like that.
Yep. I was watching an episode of Kitchen Nightmares, where Gordon Ramsay goes to this place, and this restaurant had, like, you remember you used to be able to go to the mall and buy those really ugly hologram, like in a frame, and it was like a big hologram that you could put up on the wall.
Yeah.
It had one of those. It was like a clown. It was like all like
extra horrifying.
Yeah. I was kind of trying to figure out though, like, those were always cool. When I was a kid, I liked to go to the hologram store and look at the holograms, right?
Mm-hmm.
They really just dropped that and never figured out how to, like, make that still image color. If they could have figured out how to colorize that still, and maybe, you know, I'm talking on my ass here, maybe it's the sort of thing that can't be done.
You don't know from light.
Yeah, what do I know from holograms? Come on. You put the clown inside of the picture, and then it comes to life at night. But if they could have perfected that, because, yeah, I remember back in the old days, like, at the mall, there was, like, a whole store full of holograms, and they were pretty expensive.
Yep.
I feel like I want to go find the guy that used to own the hologram store in the mall and email and interview him and just have him be like, yep, I thought that was it. boy. I thought that holograms were my life. I ate, I slept, I breathed holograms.
I cashed in my 401k.
Yep, I was like, the wave of the future. Let me tell you about. I don't know why he's like the cigar chomping business guy, but like he's like, yeah, I made my money in holograms.
That's why I don't work no more.
The great hologram rush of '87. Yeah, seriously, guys, you should go look up a picture of those old holograms because they were terrible. They were like yellow and green and horrible. All right, this next one comes in from Mark. Mark says, "Dear Dong disciples, I live in Canada, so I'm divorced from how things are in Texas, as you can get while still speaking English, well, with the igloos and such. But I wanted to know if there are or were independently owned game stores in your area. The reason I ask is because I'm remembering my childhood, hanging out and renting games with my friends. In particular, the local store everybody frequented would offer game parties. And I also wanted to know if this concept sounded familiar to you. The store had around 6 TVs in a back room. Each one was connected to a console, SNES, Genesis, Saturn, N64, PSX, and another PlayStation because it was new at the time. People would pay the store for time, usually around 5 hours, and within that time could play any game and use any controller in the store for as long as they wanted. They'd order in a pizza for you and basically let you and your friends go nuts and probably get fat. Discovered a lot of my favorite games that way, and it was how I was first introduced to Metal Gear. I only ever experienced this twice before they went out of business in 2008, but these parties are some of my fondest memories. I want to know if anyone shared them. Thanks for indulging my long-ish email, Mark. P.S. Ironically, it was called The Last Game Store as a joke.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's talking about a game cafe.
No, what he's I know what he's talking about. Back in the days when you had we're talking about like old, in the late 80s, early 90s type of thing, when you would go and you would rent like NES cartridges, or actually just be, late 80s, early 90s, when you'd rent NES cartridges from things. You'd have the occasional place that was like, we're having a tournament this Friday with pizza and snacks and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, you're the closest analog to what you're talking about, Mark, is what you're talking about, Joe.
Well, but like there was something kind of that was both that we had in El Paso. It was a local video game chain called Major Players, and you could buy games, you could rent games, you could just rent like a room basically to just play all you wanted. And yeah, they realized that if they just pump you full of Mountain Dew and pizza, you're going to stick around longer.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was a kid going down, I think I was downtown to, like, it used to be when PCs were really, really expensive, that this was, I think, more common because it was like, I don't have $3,000 for a PC, so I'm going to go. Because I remember taking my friends down to play Doom on a LAN place where that was still like really, really pricey, really hard to put together. But you know what's strange is only a few years ago, no, that's not true. It's now been many years. I'm sure they're probably still there, but my PlayStation 3 broke, and I took it to a store to get it fixed. And that place was also had like a whole game cafe thing. They're like, oh yeah, on Thursday nights we have Rock Band, and then like a bunch of people lined up playing Dota or Call of Duty or whatever on really good PCs. I think it's probably becoming less and less a thing as time goes on. I think it's more a thing in Asia.
You mean South Korea?
Or, well, I don't know if it's just South Korea or all of Asia, but I do know there's that one video of all the people running into the cafe to like kick some dude's ass who's playing Dota or something. Have you ever seen that video?
No.
It's like the security cam footage from like a LAN.
Was he just too good?
I don't know. I don't even know if it was I injected the Dota thing, but it's like there's a front desk, right? And then where you check in, and then behind there's like a like just big rows of computers and stuff. I swear to God, like 1 minute there's nothing happening, and the next minute it's like the raid came in there. It's like 40 guys come running into this place, and they just go in there and they start throwing like chairs at this guy and like kicking his ass, and they all just turn around and run out after the place has been trashed.
Well, they were done.
And I'm just like, damn, Korea, like you got your priorities right, apparently. But no, I think that, I mean, there's still places that do that, but nowadays in America, at least, it's so cheap to get a PC.
Yeah.
If you want to get just like a garbage PC, you could pick one up for next to nothing. I mean, okay, like $300, maybe less if you go with one of those crappy little ones that they were never supposed to sell in the United States. What are they called? iBooks? No, that's not right. when I worked at the laptop store we used to sell them, they were created for third world countries where they've got this like the equivalent of like a 486 processor in them, and they're like they're like a half-size laptop with a tiny little keyboard on
netbook.
it. Netbook, yeah, there you go. And we'd have people come in all the time that were just like, "Oh, is this only $100? I want one."
You're
to be like,
"Oh, you're throwing away $100, dude."
Okay, look, man, it's good for checking email. That's about it. Can I watch videos on YouTube? Be like, kind of. Like, well, I want to play games. Be like, do not buy this. Like, I want to edit a video. Do not buy. Yes. Look, I know that you would love to live in a magical world where there's a $100 computer that can run Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
There's not. You don't live in that world. You need the $1,200 video. Like, I'm not telling you this to try to upsell you. I'm telling you this because you buy a $600 piece of garbage and then go install Premiere on it. You're going to be back in here tomorrow like, I want to return this. It doesn't do what you said, even though I told you that it totally doesn't do that. Sorry. This is my flashbacks. But no, I feel like a lot of that, what he's talking about is kind of for the days before online became a thing, right?
Yeah.
Because now everything can be played online.
I mean, like even in the days of daisy chaining your Xboxes to play like 16-player Halo multiplayer.
Oh yeah,
like that. It was still around back then.
Yeah,
but no, not now.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Our next one comes in from Jamie, who says, "Dear Jeff and Joe, I've been listening to Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly album a lot recently. The song that seems the most interesting is Mortal Man, particularly at the end where Kendrick interviews Tupac. That made me wonder if you guys could have an interview with one person you admire, who would it be, and what would you want to talk about? Sincerely, Jamie from Australia." What do you think?
Ooh, that's a toughie.
This is like a inside the actor studio question, right? If you could interview one person, and did they it just says admire. They don't specify like living or dead. I'm gonna
I'm gonna have to go with future me.
Yeah.
Okay,
one person that's not you. One person that is not Joe. Let's go with one person.
Admire, right?
What's that?
You said, but admire.
I'm just going to open the floor to anybody. If you're having so much trouble with finding any one person that you admire, why don't you just go ahead and tell me anybody? Literally anybody.
Jeff from Rage Select.
No, not me. Anybody that you want that's not in this room that is also not my dog.
Oh, damn. All right, we'll make it difficult then. Well, what about you?
What about me? Well, I was trying to think about answers that weren't Hideo Kojima or Hideaki, Dark Souls guy. That's his last name, obviously. And let's see. I don't know if it would be. I mean, this is a gaming-related show. I don't know if it would be gaming-related. I don't even know that I really have a. It's kind of a hard question because, like, anybody of note, there's already a shitload of interviews with them online that you could read, right? Yeah. Or listen to or whatever. Like anybody who's even the least bit. I mean, you say like, I like Vince Gilligan shows a lot, right? Or Gillian or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, so I want to interview Walter White.
Right. Maybe fictional character. Maybe what fictional character would you like to interview? If you could just like pull them out of their universe and talk to them.
I'd interview Sephiroth and ask, how come so much poop in his butt? Like,
ask those hard-hitting questions.
Well, no, just be like, why are you so poopy, bro?
Yeah.
Like, why you gotta hate?
I would. There's actually a ton of Final Fantasy characters that I would love to just interview just for the opportunity to slap around like you're saying. Especially, I never played it all the way to the end. Maybe they explain it. Maybe there's more to it than I'm thinking. But fucking, like, of all the emo that's in Final Fantasy VII, doesn't hold a candle to fucking what's-his-face in 8.
Oh, Squall or
Squall Lionheart, yeah. What a fucking jerk, man. At least Cloud was a, like, what, clone of something, and then he took on Zack's personality, so he was kind of like kind of conflicted. Everybody knows Zack is the real hero of Final Fantasy VII. But, yeah, Squall ain't got no business. He's just like, oh, I have a crush on that other boy, but he doesn't like me. He put a scar on my face. Now I'm mad about it.
Was that what just tell me how you feel, asshole?
Like, dude, the hottest bitches in all of whatever the land of Final Fantasy VIII are throwing themselves at you left and right, and you're just like, I'm grumpy. I have deep feelings about things, man.
Oil or sharpen my gun sword. I don't know.
Yeah. Dude, fuck that guy. This is the reason I've never managed to get more than about 2 hours into that game, because in about 2 hours I'm just like, nope. Nope, not even a little bit. I'm trying to think of other good characters that would be good to interview that are not from Dark Souls or Metal Gear. I bet Nathan Drake would be fun to hang around with. But interviewing is a lot of work. Like, I don't know that I have a lot of in-depth questions,
Yeah.
Oh, no. You know what? I do know the answer to that, because there's one thing that I want to know.
Okay.
And if I could make the person that was being interviewed answer the question, then the one person that I would want to interview would be Hideo Kojima. And the one thing that I want to ask him is, what the fuck happened between you and Konami? That's what I want to know. It's like my biggest gaming mystery is, what did you do to make them so pissed off that they didn't, I was telling somebody the story, they didn't invite him to the Spike VGAs, and fucking Keeley had the nuts to get up there and just be like, so, Metal Gear Solid 5 came out this year. It's a beautiful achievement, but Konami's a bunch of dicks, and they won't even let the guy that made it come to these awards. So, fucking shame on you, Konami. You guys are a bunch of dicks, and Hideo Kojima should be here to accept, like, all the awards for Metal Gear Solid 5. Fuck you guys, and fuck your moms, too. And I was like, damn, Keeley. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Yeah. But he did take his dick out, right?
Yeah, no. I mean,
Okay, cool.
he did whip it out on stage. Anybody else you could think of that you'd like to interview?
No,
I mean, interviewing isn't just a thing that I do that often.
Right. No, I'd like to. I don't know, maybe like rollerblade with Cube from Jet Set Radio Future.
Okay.
It just looks like it'd be a fun time.
Sure. Have a party with Commander Shepard so that guy could party. All right. This next one's from Alex, and Alex asks, greetings, Dong Lords and Dong Preachers. Jeff and Joe, I have 2 questions. I'm sorry, this episode is so Soul-centric. Do you feel like the Souls games are almost like a virus or a meme? They spread and regenerate with different hosts. A common Souls term is Sherpa, or a good friend who's played the game and is helping you through the whole experience. A friend, and you got me into the Souls games, and the promised satisfaction drew me in. I've spread the Souls bug to multiple people who I've Sherpa through the games. It is a game that spreads. Is this a good thing, and why? My second question is why, as with all the Souls games and Souls-like games coming out, are you worried that the Souls series will turn into Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, just pumping them out every year to make more dollary dues? From Down Under, Alex. Oh, that explains the dollary dues. Yes. The Alex, can you answer me the question why everybody in the Mad Max universe does not know how to pronounce the word gasoline correctly?
Oh, gasoline?
Yeah. Why it's called gas? Is that just the way that you guys say it, and they just started writing it like that? Like some illiterate jerk off was just like put a big sign out front that was like GUZZL.
You were pissing off all 12 people in Australia. And like a million marsupials.
Guzzling. No, I mean, like, it would be one thing. Oh, anyway, let's not go off on that tangent too much. All right, so we got 2 questions here. Is it a good thing that people won't shut up about the Souls game and keep spreading it to other people and telling people to play it and stuff like that? I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of stuff these days. A lot of, let's not get too in our feelings about this, but there's a lot of games these days that are just kind of cookie cutter crap.
Yes.
And a lot of it is okay cookie cutter crap. Like The Division, for example, is kind of just like, it's a third-person shooter. It takes place in New York. It's kind of just Grand Theft Auto, but more, different. It's not exactly that. Yeah. I don't want to crap directly all on Ubisoft. So let's say, let's think of games that came out last year. Let's take a game that I really like. South Park Stick of Truth.
Okay.
Game that I really like. It is, though, just a turn-based RPG, like active real-time RPG, like Super Mario RPG or something like that, right? It's not exactly doing anything new. Now, the story is fucking fantastic, and it made me laugh the entire time. So I gave it, like, Game of the Year or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not doing anything exactly new. So I think that when something like a Soul series comes around and the people that play it are so into it that they can't shut up about it, that's a good thing, because it means that there's a deep well of passion for that particular type of game in that franchise, which is something that I feel should be respected. Like, if a game is really able to get its hooks into you, it's something that I always like. Like last year, The Witcher 3 tried, it was like 4 times it threw its harpoon, and all 4 times it kind of just bounced off of my leathery hide, and I just couldn't get me. Whereas, I played Bloodborne like 8 times last year, like from beginning to end, 8 different times, and then I played the DLC a bunch of times.
Yeah,
and
I would say like being an evangelist certainly helps. Like the way the Samurai series or the Yakuza series, I wish more people would talk about that shit because I'd like the chance to play more of those games.
Yeah,
but it's so difficult. Like there's always the well, we bring it over to America. I don't know. Only like 30,000 people like it. You
right.
know? So sure, yeah, talk away.
Yeah,
support the shit you like.
Yeah, I mean the Yakuza series, I really enjoyed the last one. I can't wait for the next one, and then the one in between. There's one that came out on the PS3, like right before Christmas, but I can't. I'm willing to just wait for the next one. Is right around the corner. It's a PS4 game. It looks fantastic. Did you see the Way of the Samurai is that Spike Chunsoft apparently is getting those out on the PC?
No, but I need to have that.
Okay, because you obviously don't watch much Rage Select.
What is that?
A little while back, John and I played. They put out a PC port for Way of the Samurai 4, and then last week they put out Way of the Samurai 3, and it's like $16 on Steam. So I'm hoping they get all the way back to the first one, but I think that'd probably be a little bit.
I wish that they would
make a new one.
Well, not only that, but Samurai Western. Oh crap, that was fun.
Oh yeah,
I wish they'd give that the treatment.
Let's see. Then the second question they have is, with all the Souls and Souls-like games coming out, are you worried the Souls series will turn into Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, pumping one out every year for the aforementioned dollary dues? Well, I know for a fact that, they may change their mind, but Hidetaka Miyazaki has said that Dark Souls 3 is the last Souls game. Is because they don't want to just pump out. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if Bloodborne is any indication of what they do when they're not making that, I'm like, great. Make it in a different universe. Make a different aesthetic to it. Like that whole Victorian steampunky kind of Cthulhu thing.
Yeah, take time off and give yourself the freedom to make something innovative.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's one of the things that I've said constantly about Kojima is let the poor man go make something besides Metal Gear. Like he's obviously a great game developer. Let him go do something that is not goddamn Metal Gear. Like don't just burn him to the ground making this one style of game. And he's done like honestly, every Metal Gear game is different because they're all adapting to the different technologies that are out there or different game engines, different things. So like it's not like Call of Duty where they're all first person shooters. Well, all the Metal Gear games are third person games, but they play drastically differently. But yeah, I want that team to evolve their franchise ideas further out. Bring back more Kingsfield or make an Armored Core game that I will play finally.
Make like a dating simulator.
Yeah, or whatever. It's really hard, Joe. It's super difficult. And it's not for everybody.
Rewarding.
But it's fair. It's fair. Once you learn.
It's true. I did mansplain on the date. I guess you can't see me again.
That's right. I think that if Japan was the place that made the definitive feminist dating simulator, that would be very strange. I would be very surprised.
There's a lot of blinking eyes.
Nothing against you, Japan, but you just don't seem. Last week I just got done playing the bounciest, most naked beach ninja fighting game of all time. With all ladies, where even the enemies were lady ninjas, where when you attacked them, first their ninja uniforms came off, and then you could see their bikini tops, and it was just like, yes, this is a country that is definitely like, we do things our way. You can go fuck yourself. I don't care. I'm Japan. We do it the way we want to do it. Anyway, but yeah, I think that it's good. Again, I think it shows passion, and I think that's great. And our last question this week comes in from Jason. Not that Jason. He says, hopefully this gets on in time. I always remember that I wanted to ask a question on Thursday, which is too late. I had a twofold question. I have an idea for a video game, but know nothing about how to make video games. Literally nothing. How does one go about making a game? Second part, the idea I have is for a Marvel Comics game, which is licensed. Would it make sense to just pitch the game to Marvel? How would someone even do that? Thanks, Jason.
Well, those are some big questions there, buddy.
Yes. Let's go with your first question, because your first question is one that has an answer.
Yeah, you don't do it alone.
Well, you can do it alone, but if you do, okay, let's see. There's about 5 different things here, right?
Mm-hmm.
1, Unity is free to use.
Yep.
You can buy asset packs and stuff for it. So get Unity. 2, get a book. I was reading this one book about game development. Then when I got to the place where the math was, I was like, I can't read this when I'm drinking, and I haven't been back to it yet. So all the game theory stuff was really interesting, and I really liked reading about it. But then when I got to the actual, like, here's how we're going to show you how to calculate probabilities for hit dice and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I can't do shots and read this part of this book at the same time. I will not retain any of it. But I would recommend getting a book. Go on to Amazon, find a book that's about game development, find one that's about game development in Unity, right?
Well, and definitely, I don't know, find what it is about making a game that sounds appealing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like drawing the dudes and the ladies? Is it like coming up with a compelling storyline?
Yep.
Is it like you do want to like write those algorithms that figure stuff out? Like figure out what part of that you want.
The biggest thing, Jason, is maybe if the reason that you want to make a video game is to either get rich or get famous, I would highly recommend doing something else, like be a lawyer or like
Celebrity chef,
or go on Real Husbands of Cincinnati or wherever you're from,
Video
right?
Game Valley.
Right. Because the Quotey Fingers fame and the Quotey Fingers money that you're going to make from video games are 0. You're going to make none. But if you have a passion project and you want to try for it, we just got done saying, like, if there's a thing and you want to see, like, I've often thought about getting into game development just to make like a handful of games that I've had ideas for that nobody else has made.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm just like, well, literally this game doesn't exist, but I think it'd be pretty cool. So it'd be cool to like prototype it and then see if it played remotely good.
Like a game where you're like a pottery wheel thrower,
Right.
And so you have to make different forms of pottery while
No.
Patrick Swayze holds your hands.
No,
Yeah.
it's called Time of My Life. That's what it's called. I don't. Anyway, second, if you're gonna make, if you do decide that you want to make a game, you must start out very small.
Yes.
Make a tiny game, and then move on to making games that are slightly bigger, but probably of a genre that you already know how it works, like side scroller, right? You know how Mario works,
Yeah,
right?
like in 7th grade when I made a dungeon crawler.
Right. Yeah, or a dungeon crawler, or a roguelike, or like a really basic real-time strategy game, right? Something that you don't have to, a fighting game with 4 characters, something that you can cut your teeth on, or something that's closer to what you're looking to make. And then you can move on from there. But yeah, Joe is totally right. You will really want to have other people along for the ride, especially if you don't know anything. You're probably going to want somebody who knows something about sound, because you can try to do the sound yourself, but then you might end up like those Digital Homicide guys where Jim Sterling is crapping all over your game, and then you get your feelings real hurt, right? You're like, I'm not making games anymore. Wah! You owe me $4 million, Jim Sterling. Wah! Try small. Look for other people to make it with you, especially people that have the individual skills that you're going to need. Definitely go get a book. Like I read this. Let me see if I can find the name of this on my phone while I'm yapping. I read this book, and the beginning, it had this whole section about like testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how like there are 4 different types of testers. There's like the people who this is the first time they've ever played your game, right? And that type of person, they only exist one time. So you might have a pool of testers, and you might want to save some of them for when your game is later on, because you only get one chance to get somebody's first impression about your video game. Once they played it one time, then you'll never be able to get that information from them ever again. Black Coat Motorcycle Club, so there's stuff that you might not think of on your own. Damn, I read a lot of science fiction fantasy.
It's a lot of Dune.
This one I didn't finish, but this one's by Jeremy Gibson. It's called Introduction to Game Design, Prototyping, and Development, and it's got examples that are made in Unity and C#. You can give that one a shot. The book itself is a little expensive. I think it's like $40 or $50 book, but
but that's how books work.
Yeah, well, that's how useful books work.
Yeah.
The science fiction is $6, right? the one that I said actually going to teach you how to make a living at something is like, you're like, $40 for a brand new skill that you never had before. Maybe give it a shot. As the second part of your question, Jason, no. Just no.
No.
I mean, you could, no. If you worked for a game company, no. Even then. If you worked for EA, no. If you were vice president of EA, you might be able to reach out to Marvel and be like, hey, our Gremlins have come up with something that we think would be very nice. I don't know why they're British or whatever that is that I'm doing. Would be very nice. Maybe talk to us. But here's the thing. If Marvel wanted licensed games for their properties, they would have made them already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a reason that there aren't any Iron Man. Also, the fact that Disney owns Marvel and that Disney Interactive doesn't really know how to make video games at all, unless they're like Disney princesses teaching you how to spell or some bullshit like that. Like, they keep buying a studio, making a studio, having a studio make a game, and then immediately closing the studio after that game comes out. It means that your chances of that are slim to none. Now, what I can say to you, Jason, your consolation prize, right, is when you get ready to make your game, what you can do is a time-honored classic of make your Marvel game and change everybody's names just enough so that it doesn't infringe on copyright. If the G-Men are going to go up against the Revengers, right? And Captain Geneva and
Arachnid fella,
and Eagle Eye and the Maroon Sorceress are all on the case of Dr. Hell and his army of robots or whatever. Do that, right? Chances are that when your game is done, you're probably going to be selling it on Steam for $5 anyway. So, Marvel probably not going to come after you as long as you do enough diligence. And who knows? Always remember, Jason, that Star Wars was supposed to be a Flash Gordon movie. And Lucas kept changing stuff so that it wouldn't infringe on the Flash Gordon rights. And what do we get? We got fucking Star Wars out of it. So don't lose hope. Take heart.
What you do might result in Jar Jar Binks.
And don't ever make Jar Jar Binks. Remember, when you're big, you get the big neck fat and the big beard. That don't ever make Jar Jar Binks. Just never do that. And that is our last question for the week.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've answered all the questions in the world.
We have done what is time, where is space. We got all of them. Does Jeff like Dark Souls?
Yeah, is that a boil?
Yeah. Yes, it is. I saw those little side, like the little things that you get on the internet that's like, you won't believe what this actress did, and like new weight one trick that will help you become the skinny person that you've always thought, right? Like that was ever a thing. It's funny. They could invent some kind of magic treatment that would just like demolish my excess body weight, completely healthy or whatever. And then all they would have to do was try to sell it to me through the internet.
It's never going to happen.
I don't know how many, like my mail at Rage. Oh, by the way, if you want to send a question, mail at rageselect.com is the email address. The mail at rageselect.com email address, like half of what comes in there when I wake up in the morning and there's 20 unread messages, half of them are like, you're fat. The cure to obesity. My girlfriend says you're fat. You're fatter than my mom. You're so fat. Why are you so fat?
Is she going to leave you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other half of them are like, Donald Trump quits the presidential race. Special mention from Donald Trump. I quit. Donald Trump quit. It's like all these messages trying to convince me Donald Trump is not running for president, but I'm really fat. And I'm like, all right, deleted. Mail at rageselect.com is the email address. Anyway, I was saying that one of those little sidebars had a thing on there that was like, the cyst popping video that is sweeping the internet. I'm just like,
it is.
You know what? I'm actually starting to feel a little nauseous just thinking about those things, because I understand they appeal to somebody. I don't understand why they appeal. You send that question to mail at Rage Select to be like, why do people watch cyst popping videos? I'm like, I don't fucking know. It's gross.
It's like watching a sneeze? I don't know.
Nope, it's not like watching a sneeze.
Don't have a good answer for it.
Nope, it's like watching half a cup of mayo get pushed out of
my
somebody's...
girlfriend is one of the people that love watching this.
No!
And I'm just like, well, I'm glad you take something from this. I don't identify.
Ugh, gross. All right. Well, let's end on a gross note this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Joe, thank you for coming back 3 days later and answering some questions. And we'll be back next week with another Rage Lake Podcast. Rage Lake Podcast! Yeah.